I don't want to see an ordinary film. I want to see something extraordinary.
Your sacrifice completes my sanctuary of 1,000 testicles.
Do you ever feel as if your mind had started to erode?
Let's rock indeed. Welcome to 1000 Wives of Weird, a podcast about everything weird, mostly movies. I'm Brad Hefner, and with me as always is my co-host,
Billy Martell.
And once again, we have a very special guest, star of the stage, rowing equipment extraordinaire,
Oh my God.
Streak almost unbroken, wife, mother, and as I said last time, what more does a woman need to be? It's Spring Moore.
Hello.
Woo, applause.
And once again, Spring has brought one of her favorite movies to us today. Let It Ride, a 1989 movie starring Richard Dreyfuss. To put the plot very basically, Richard Dreyfuss's character, Jay Trotter, gets a hot tip on a horse and has a very good day at the track. And that's about all that happens.
That's true.
Yes.
Now, we like to, because we feel that movies are best experienced knowing as little about them as possible, we like to give a recommendation before we go into the movie so people know whether it's worth checking out or if they can just listen. Spring, obviously you love this movie.
I do.
Do you want to say a few words about why you love it?
I love this movie because of its sheer joyful quality. Mm-hmm. A movie about gambling you would think would have some heavy moments or some sense of morality they're trying to impose or consequence, but it's really quite the opposite.
It is.
He is rewarded repeatedly for his vice, and even the other people who also struggle with gambling in the end are all rooting for him as well.
Exactly.
And it's so happy. And how can you not love Robbie Coltrane?
Robbie Coltrane is great.
Robbie Coltrane is always good. Always good.
Billy is the coolest of all of us on this movie. He did not dislike it.
Yeah.
But we're going to save his negative Nancyism for last.
I get it.
I'm with you. My favorite movie of last year was a movie called Another Round, starring Mads Mikkelsen, a Danish film, about 4 middle-aged men who decide to maintain a .05, 0.03?
I think .05 sounds right.
Blood alcohol level. They drink all during the day. They're school teachers. And it's just a movie about how sometimes you have fun drinking. Most drinking movies are about, leaving Las Vegas, where it's like, drinking will kill you. Mm-hmm. And it's like that. This is a movie where it's just, I don't know if you care if we talk about it. We went to the horse track.
Yes, we did.
And we had a blast.
Yes, we did.
You can have fun gambling. It is not always the worst thing in the world.
Absolutely.
And it's nice when movies recognize and celebrate that.
Yes.
Now, Billy.
Yes.
What did you think of Let It Ride? Would you recommend it to people?
If you are a fan of any of the actors in this movie, then yes. I think that the best thing about the movie, for me personally, was the cast. I think that they all gave 100% and made material that didn't really work for me, I'll be honest, work way better than it could have. Especially Richard Dreyfuss, I think, absolutely makes the movie.
He's a joy.
He's so good.
His mustache acting in particular is
I love
great.
it.
He knows how to make that mustache droop when he's feeling bad and
Yes.
have a rakish angle when he's feeling confident. He's got that mustache acting down.
True.
It's an art. It's an art. But I in general I couldn't get quite into the vibe of this one. Unfortunately, I understand it's just supposed to be sort of a general sort of popcorn happy thing, and I'm very happy that you guys enjoyed that. I kept looking for some kind of arc, and there didn't seem to be one other than in one scene Richard Dreyfuss is the worst person in the world, and then suddenly in the next scene he is a much nicer person. And I was like, okay, but it didn't work for me.
Okay.
So I really hate to be the negative Nancy, as you put it. I don't want to be a jerk. And I hate telling people to their faces. I now have to, Spring,
No, that's okay.
that I didn't like their favorite movie. But
not her favorite.
well, one of your favorites.
Sure, it's fun.
But it's So I don't like being in that position, but to be perfectly honest, it just wasn't for me.
It's fine. This might, for you,
Mm-hmm.
be a movie like A Christmas Story for me, where I hate it. But when people quote A Christmas Story, I'm like, oh, that's funny. That's
Yeah.
funny. Maybe as we talk about it, you'll think of it more fondly. Maybe it works better off the
It has
screen
happened
for you.
before. Almost every movie I've been lukewarm on, the more we talked about it on the show. Like Tracks, I was only okay, and then we talked about it for 2 hours, and it was the funniest movie I'd ever seen.
Tracks is much better remembered than watched.
That's an accurate statement.
Except
Absolutely.
for the part where he tries a Little League team with a car.
Okay.
Tracks
yeah.
is one of the few movies starring Shadow Stevens.
Oh my.
He is an ex-mercenary who goes into cookie making. Mm-hmm. And
It was our first episode.
Yeah.
It's a pretty wild ride.
Oh my god. I don't even know how to respond to that juxtaposition of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Co-starring Priscilla Barnes, Three's Company replacement.
wow.
Yeah. That's why we covered it.
Yeah, I don't even know. Wow.
Let's get into Let It Ride. This is directed by Joe Pytka, who also directed Space Jam,
Yes.
which is insane. About 7 years apart. Do you, Spring,
Yes.
see the blueprint for Space Jam in Let It Ride?
When I watched it again this morning, I was looking for some sort of calling card. I don't know. No, not really
It's
all, other than the super general vibe of happy,
Yeah.
victorious people coming together and rooting. And,
Positivity.
yeah.
Sports?
Yeah.
Sports!
It's so loose.
I will say, and I'll bring this up later, Richard Dreyfuss is essentially Daffy Duck in this movie.
Oh, absolutely. No, that's exact. I wrote down in my notes between this movie and What About Bob?
Bob.
He is essentially like the real life Daffy or Donald Duck. Either
Yeah.
one of them, really. With his just sort of cartoon manic anger.
Yes.
Another thing about the director, I looked him up. He has the record for the most nominations for Best Director of Commercials by the Directors Guild of America. Most of his work has been with Pepsi and or Michael Jackson, which makes sense to me because Space Jam was originally conceived as a gigantic commercial.
Sure.
Yes.
And this movie has so many needle drops throughout the film. They're not distracting or obnoxious, but there's just a lot of editing to previously recorded music, which seems like a very commercial director thing to do.
There are 3 songs in this movie.
Repeated over and over and over again.
But I love the way that the main song, changes in the mood in which it's presented. When it's
Yeah.
sort of slower and when it's almost like a carousel.
like
at
a
one
leitmotif.
point.
Yeah, it's the leitmotiv of the movie.
Yes.
This is not me criticizing the film. This is just me. You're looking for some sort of
Sure.
thing that sort of singled this director out, and I was looking through, and there were a lot of moments where, there's just suddenly cut to an old woman having an over the top reaction in the corner of the equestrian club and stuff
Gotcha.
like that. Just seemed very sort of, would you like to have some Grey Poupon sort of style of filmmaking.
Gotcha. Do you think this movie would be better with Charles Barkley?
It's in every movie better with Charles.
I don't want him as like loony or anything. I think he'd be good as a
No.
jockey.
No,
Like,
I don't want him
He should
to
ride Faith Healer.
I don't think that any of the cast should be replaced, but I do think that Charles Barkley should be in the movie just as Charles Barkley. Like, they go to the equestrian club and
Yeah,
he's
he
like,
could be in
oh
the
my
jockey
god, so many
club.
rich people are here. Charles Barkley? And he just cuts to him and he's in full basketball gear. He's like, hey, and it cuts back.
Yeah, no, that would work
They
great.
pay him $1 million and that's the only scene he has.
And also, Joe Pytka, Pittsburgh native.
Also, Joe Pytka looks exactly like Michael Rooker from the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is based on a novel called Good Vibes by Jay Cronley, who also wrote Quick Change, the Bill Murray, Randy Quaid, we're going to dress up like clowns and rob a bank movie.
Yeah.
That movie.
It rang a bell, but
And Funny Farm, the Chevy Chase movie.
I saw that movie in the theater.
Did you?
Wow.
Yes.
It's an okay movie.
Okay. Even as a child, I identified it as okay.
This is the absolute stone face you had there.
It's okay.
We begin with the song Fugue for Tin Horns from the Guys and Dolls musical, which was not only the first play I was in, but the first musical. So that it takes me back. Back to a simpler time.
That musical makes me happy.
It's a good musical.
It's a little dated, but it's very good.
Well, it's set in like the 30s. So
Like one of the horses in the first race is named Guys and Dolls.
oh, is he?
Is he?
Yeah.
I completely missed that
I
somehow.
just made that connection.
Oh my god.
And this is a great choice, not just because the song is about betting on horses, but because all of these characters feel like Damon Runyon characters. Like they're all horse bettors.
Yes.
We see Jay Trotter and his wife Pam at a Chinese restaurant. Jay is played by Richard Dreyfuss, who most people know from the intro of Piranha 3D and Kippendorf's Tribe.
Yes, everyone
And
knows
I
him
don't
from
think anything
Kippendorf's
else.
Tribe.
Yes. But he was in Jaws, he was in What About Bob, as we mentioned. Fantastic actor. Trotter's name is a reference to the kind of horses used in harness racing, which
Yes.
is what Spring and I saw.
Yes.
And not what we see in this, which is jockeys on backs, harness racing. They have a little cart behind them. Pam is played by Terry Garr, who is in Young Frankenstein, Close Encounters with Richard Dreyfuss. And she's been in a ton of things. Both of them have. They're fantastic.
Absolutely.
Pam and Trotter are making promises to each other about how they'll improve their behavior. They're trying to patch up their relationship, and they make a plan to have a romantic encounter the next day. One of Jay's promises is that he won't gamble so much.
Yeah, the lists that they both give set up the conflicts of the story.
Exactly.
Right from the beginning.
Trotter says God hates him and he just wants one day. Trotter gets a fortune that says sometimes you can be walking around lucky and not even know it. And Spring, I want you to describe what happens next, because this seems to be one of your favorite scenes in movie history.
I love it so much. I love it so much. I probably watch it once every 2 months because this would happen. I feel like the argument that ensues in the Chinese restaurant could totally happen. It is 100% believable to me because it is one of these inane things that everybody does have an opinion about. And there are
Sure.
super strange things that you feel very passionately about.
Yes.
They're sheer superstition or whatever,
Right.
but these are deeply held beliefs that you have.
We've had a multiple day argument about what is the top of a cracker.
Yeah.
Just for the listening audience, what the argument they're having is about the mystical rules that govern fortune cookies.
Right. So they get their fortunes, and then she touches another one and tries to give it to him. And he says, no, I'll just take the other one. And she says, well, just take this one. And he says, I can't. You touched it. You
Right.
touched it. That changes it. And she's very upset because she thinks he's being ridiculous, because it is a ridiculous, like these sort of beliefs, this is a ridiculous thing.
Right.
And he is exasperated that she does not know this about fortune cookies, so he then turns to the stranger at the next table, which is something I feel I would do in this kind of situation. I have polled my students before on things like, which side do you put the peanut butter on a Ritz? Sometimes you just need to know that you are validated in your crazy belief. And he agrees with Trotter. And so he feels completely vindicated, but then all of the other tables get involved, and they are all just as passionate about their beliefs about the fortune cookies. And she doesn't know what's happened. She says, who is this guy? Who is this? Why has he asked him? Why does he care what he thinks? And everyone's just going crazy. And I had heard the one where this person says, no, you have to eat it. You got to eat it. The fortune only comes true if you eat the cookie. That one I have definitely heard.
Yeah.
But it just becomes chaos because everyone has a deeply held belief
No, this scene was so good.
About
it was
fortune cookies.
so freaking funny.
It's a great way to open a movie.
It's wonderful.
It tells us a lot about Trotter.
Yes.
Trotter doesn't just Trotter has strong feelings.
Yes.
Pam,
as does Pam.
Yes.
Do you guys have any deeply held beliefs about fortune cookies?
I was raised Baptist, so we were taught that you just eat them and ignore the paper.
Any sort of prognostication is just the devil's work.
well, not necessarily the devil's work, just fake.
The devil's in heck at a typewriter typing up all these
You can
fortunes.
say hell.
No, I think it's way funnier if we say heck.
Okay, please.
The devil, it's just like it's just driving by the signpost. Oh man, we're going to heck.
Heck, Michigan.
Heck.
What about you, Spring? Any deeply held beliefs about fortune cookies?
Not really. For a while, I experimented with the only touching one.
Yeah.
But
Did
then
that not work out in your
then
household?
you have children, and they want one, and
They
you have
love
to
to touch
open it,
cookies
and you have to
and-
open it for them, and so I'm touching it. So
And you don't want
yeah.
to deprive them of their fortune.
right, so I had
Right.
to let go of that. I also experimented with I will eat this. I want this fortune, so I will eat this cookie, and that will help it along. But I don't like the cookies at all.
They're terrible.
They're
Flynn
really
loves
bad.
them. My 5-year-old loves them. He will eat everyone else's cookie.
I feel like they taste
disgusting.
different when you're little, because I remember loving them when I was little, and now they're just the most bland, nothing
Terrible
thing.
They're awful.
I don't know what the opposite of a sugar cone is. But
That's what it
I
is.
see what you're
No,
saying.
that's a good point. The capitalism is ruining so many things. If you the last
Why
time
is it
I
whenever
ordered Chinese
spring's
food.
on?
Well,
Yeah,
I want to scare
really-
her. I want to scare her. Well, we got Chinese food the other day, and I opened up a fortune cookie. On the one side there was the fortune. On the other side, where it has like a Japanese word of the day or Chinese word of the day, it was just a straight up advertisement for some for like a car or something like that.
No,
It was
that
so
cheapens it.
it cheapens the magic. Damn it!
It does.
This
Yeah.
is ancient mysticism.
Obviously.
Cookie magic.
Ancient Chinese secret, huh?
Who doesn't live their life based on the baked goods that they...
Next, we see a cab driven by Trotter's friend Looney.
Mm-hmm.
Looney likes to record people in his cab, mostly for perverted reasons. Looney is played by David Johansen.
Mm-hmm.
Johansen was a member of the incredibly influential proto-punk band, the New York Dolls.
Nice.
He also had a huge hit as Buster Poindexter with Hot, Hot, Hot. He was in Scrooged as the Ghost of Christmas Present.
Yes.
And a few other movies. He was in an episode of Pete and Pete as a cop. He's fantastic in this movie.
Oh my God.
I love his rasp. I love Trotta.
Yeah.
He's got the voice of Harvey Firestein, is what he,
He
has.
does.
Like he's so Trotta, I'm gonna get back at you one of these days. He's got the voice of Harvey Firestein, but the face of Joe Piscopo. But he's way funnier than Joe Piscopo.
Who doesn't want the face of Joe Piscopo?
I want the face of Joe Piscopo.
Spring, are you upset that none of your sons look like Joe Piscopo?
A little bit.
I won't tell Gub.
He
Thank
might
you.
listen to this episode though. Editing.
Who, Harvey Firestein or Joe Piscopo?
Both.
I'm sure
They are
listen to
both
it.
big fans.
I'm sure they get together and listen to it, sitting on each other's shoulders. Trotter is also a taxi driver. Mm-hmm. Is this the first movie about a taxi driver? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Okay. Looney records a few men talking about a fixed race. The trainer has told the jockey to hold the horse back for several races. 8 races, and now he's giving the tip to his friend. Looney records it. Here's what I wrote in my notes. Trotta! At work.
I have it too.
He plays the tape for Trotter. Trotter is consumed by the tip. Like, he can't get over it. He's listening to it as he's driving fares around, despite the fact that he's given up gambling.
I wrote down this note because Looney, when he plays it for him and Trotter's taking it super seriously, Looney is already saying, "You shouldn't go in for this. This is just two people practicing for a play, rehearsing for a play." And I wrote down as like, I'm on Looney's side. I've seen Shark Tale. I know how this works because in Shark Tale there's a very similar scene, but it turns out to be a lie, and he loses all of his money, and then Martin Scorsese tries to kill him.
Okay. I've never seen Shark Tale.
Don't. It's bad.
I'm sure.
But I was a child once, so
Well, yeah. I'm sure you only had a few movies on the compound.
very few.
Now we get what seems to be our 10th straight minute of opening credits.
Oh my God, they just kept coming.
They go on forever.
But-
And
Like an
there's
episode of Law and Order,
I
just
really
keeps
feel
going.
like the earlier 80s movies were very much like that, and this movie sort of has an earlier 80s feel.
True, yeah.
And
It has a
just
very 80s feel one way or
latched
the
onto
other.
that, yeah.
The book is from, I believe, like 79, so that might help with that vibe a little bit.
By the way, I liked, as much as I sort of downplayed my appreciation of the movie, I did really enjoy it, parts of it, and I want to check out the book. The book is completely out of print.
It is. The
It's-
cheapest copy you can get, I believe, is $15.
Yeah, and that's a used paperback copy. The only new copies you can get are $20. The hardcover editions are over $1,000, and it's not available on Kindle.
No.
So
Because I was thinking, oh, wouldn't it be fun if I got copies for me in spring?
right.
Sorry, that's not happening. But now we get the original song of the movie, and I love original songs in movies.
I miss original songs for movies.
Win or Lose, performed by Jeffrey Coz. Super 80s.
Yes.
Oh my!
The 80th song, even for 89. I love it. Comes back a lot. Now, the score for this film is done by impresario Giorgio Moroder. Often called the father of disco, he's done soundtracks for, aside from his experiments in like electronic music and Euro disco and all that, He did the soundtrack for Battlestar Galactica,
Ooh,
the original.
I love that show.
Scarface, and the Sylvester Stallone arm wrestling movie Over the Top.
Wow.
You ever see Over the Top?
No?
You don't need to.
I was already thinking
Put that on the pile with Shark Tale.
Yeah,
Just
no.
don't watch it.
That's a service this podcast for.
Yeah, that's what we started this for, to make a list of movies people shouldn't watch.
Yeah.
During these opening titles, we see Life at the Track. And my favorite moment, we see a bus unload a bunch of elderly women, and one of them gets off and does a huge wave to the camera with just this huge smile on her face, and then immediately cuts, and you know that the assistant director or the second unit director or whoever was doing this was just like, I told you 1,000 times, don't wave at the camera.
We might be that, or it might have been just like they were just shooting the rodeo, like they went to an actual track and just shot B-roll of people, and one lady saw that, and they were like, cut!
It's possible.
Get her off camera!
At the track, Trotter and Looney pass by a line of men selling betting tips.
As they're getting to there's a line that made me really laugh, where Richard Dreyfuss is like, we're gonna bet on that horse's by his hot little nose! And Dewey's like, hot nose? What is he, sick? I'm enjoying tuning that voice way too much.
They talk to one of the guys selling betting tips, and one of my favorite bits is when Trotter mentally calculates how much money someone makes.
Yeah, I wrote mental math down too. I love it so much.
And every time they seem to know what he's thinking, and they're like, that's a lot of money, isn't it?
That's the best part of it, is that he does it. It is unspoken, and the person at the end always responds as if they had heard his math and patiently waited while he figured it out.
And something I wanted to bring up at the top, which I forgot, is this show is not always about melting faces or weird babies or whatever. This is a unique movie because, as we said, it's a happy movie about gambling. But also in this movie, there is a heightened reality. It's very cartoonish.
Yes.
It's there's mind reading. There's we're going to see a lot of cartoon stuff as we progress, but there are genuinely weird and fantastical elements in this movie.
It's a little mystical.
In a way, it is a good companion piece to Joe versus the Volcano, the last movie we talked about when you were on the show, because that's that same thing. It's like it's set in our world, but only just. Like there's this very sort of magical realism that's going on there.
And much like Joe versus the Volcano, this is a movie that benefits from the world it creates, all the supporting characters, all these personalities that gel around. Like we said, there's not a strong plot to this movie. There's not a lot of conflict.
No.
It's the characters that bring the world to life.
Yes.
Trotter gives Looney $50 to bet on Charity, which is the sure thing horse. They go across the street to a bar where they're both regulars. Trotter orders a beer, 2 aspirin, and 2 Maalox.
Yes.
That's your usual drink, isn't it?
It is. That's an 80s thing. And a whole 80s, in the 80s, Maalox just was a repetitive. People always were like swigging it or ordering it. I don't know.
That's weird.
Pardon me, this sheltered, homeschooled kid. What's a Maalox?
And
It's
antacid.
Yeah, it's like Pepto-Bismol.
Oh.
It's just a different sort of
So people are just
brand.
popping Pepto
People-
like candy.
But they would always say Maalox. I can never think of the name of that. When you call all tissues Kleenex.
Oh,
Do you know
sure.
what I mean? I never can ever think of this.
There is a word for that, but I don't know it either.
But Maalox, you just saw it a lot then. People would mention Maalox. I don't know why. I really don't. Why not that over Pepto-Bismol, which I only ever knew people who... I never saw anyone with Maalox.
Yeah.
Only
Right.
on TV and in movies did they talk about Maalox.
Just like
Fascinating.
Bigfoot. They always talk about him on TV, but
Yeah.
you never see
You
him in
never
person.
see him.
No.
You never see him in person.
Looney decides he's going to bet some of his Trotter money on the Packers. Spring is making a face. She's covering her face. She's laughing because I know that Spring empathizes with fictional characters a lot, and she's sort of going like, "Oh, Looney."
Well,
How can you not empathize with Looney? Looney's adorable.
They say he's so unlucky, and I mean, admittedly, my oldest son is typically very lucky, and my middle son, for years in his early childhood, like could never win a game, even if we played as soft as we could. Like he just seemed to be the most unlucky person ever, and it's just a horrible thing to watch.
Yeah.
But this movie does make it sort of otherworldly when the score is 75-10. I was like, it's so funny to me. He said, I lost 75-10. It's ridiculous. That's not a football score. No. It's just not a football score.
That's a score if Bugs Bunny is on
Yes,
the team.
that's a Space Jam. There you go.
Yeah.
That's where it comes from.
I was I completely jumped the track. I was thinking of an actual Looney Tunes cartoon where he does that, but like, yeah, absolutely Space Jam.
And here's where the movie, as we said, starts to come to life with all the characters. As Trotter comes in, everyone's talking about their betting strategies. They're talking about the way they do things.
They establish a lot of characters that you see pop up throughout the movie, not only here but just throughout the entire movie. And it's without spending too much time to focus on each individual one, you get a very good idea of who they are and
I
what
really
they
like
want.
that.
Exactly.
Especially this one couple with a girl who's 19 years old and everyone's making a big deal about it.
Yes.
In the initial scene, I had no idea what they were trying to set up, but later on it becomes a lot more interesting.
We'll talk about her in a second.
Yeah.
We get some great lines of chatter. My favorite is, if you have an American horse and a foreign jockey, there's bound to be some communication problem. And that's a line in the background. That's
the bartender explaining his star system.
As Trotter listens to this inane, nonsensical chatter and looks at all the people in the bar, he gets a glimpse of his life from the outside. And he flees to the bathroom. And
I want to point out that there's a great moment of sound design there where it has the sounds of all these desperately unlucky people trying to put a brave face on their failures, just sort of encroaching in on him. And I remember writing down that just the sound design in that moment was very powerful, I thought.
And
Even before he got there, though, recall when they first get to the track, he says he feels different. So I think that adds to his ability to see it from the outside in, because the stay just from the very beginning.
so he feels lucky, and he's not. Well, as he says later, he's not like these losers.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Because he goes to the bathroom, he gets down on his knees.
So
and
dirty. It's so dirty.
I know. Have you ever seen Train Spotting?
Yes.
That made me think of the scene in Train Spotting where he goes diving. It's not that bad,
No.
but it's still very gross.
He should not be on his knees in
it's
that bath.
a track.
His face should not be that close to the bowl. The
He
bowl
puts his
is
hands
dirty. I know he does.
on the.
And I'm not a germaphobe, but that's too far.
No.
Too far.
It is not even a track bar. It is the track across from the. Is the bar across from the
Yeah, no,
track?
it's bad.
He doesn't belong with these losers. He asked to just win this one last one, then he'll go.
Doesn't he even say, I don't belong at this bar with these losers. I deserve to be at the equestrian club or something like
belong
that.
across the street at the Jockey Club.
The Jockey Club. I've been calling it the wrong thing the entire time.
Trotter says, I'm due. Someone overhears and says, so's Jesus.
That was a great punchline to that.
And
moment.
someone else says, let it ride. And we have a title. During this time, we meet the youngest characters, Sid, who is a regular at the bar, and his new girlfriend, Evangeline, a very sweet and innocent-seeming young girl, played by Sex and the City's Cynthia Nixon.
Before she was big.
Yes, before she became 8 feet tall. Looney and Trotter watch the horses, then go place their bets. In the line to bet, Trotter encounters Tony Cheeseburger. The best name in the movie.
Cheeseburger.
Cheeseburger mocks Trotter's pick of the number 4 horse to the point where he needs to be dragged away by security. Laughing and shouting. It's, again, this is a cartoon.
Laden with those golden chains.
Trotter later calls him Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
in that scene, actually,
Yeah,
he's
he
like,
says,
can somebody get Sammy Davis Jr. out of here?
Yeah.
That's what he says, yeah.
Trotter bets $50 on the 4 horse. Even the ticket seller mocks him. The cashier is played by Robbie Coltrane.
Hagrid.
Best known
Yes.
for playing Hagrid. And the film Nuns on the Run. And being a J.K. Rowling apologist.
Oh, that's too bad. Is he really?
Yeah, he defended her transphobic remarks.
That's okay. That makes me sad.
We don't need to talk
But let's
about
not talk about that. Let's not
He
take
played a great Russian mobster in 2 James Bond movies.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did he play Blofeld?
No, he played a Russian mobster who tries to shoot him in the junk in Goldeneye, and then ends up getting sawn in half in The World Is Not Enough.
Oh, by a magician?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
There's a
I
lot
need
of
to watch this.
There's a lot of magic in the Bond movies.
Oh, I love
You
the
just
movie
have to
Magic
keep
with,
your eyes open.
Anthony Hopkins.
$50 window, that's when the music starts. It's got that bouncy, whimsical quality there.
Dun, 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 dun.
It just makes it, I don't know.
I will say there was a weird moment when I was watching Robbie Coltrane in this part, because in the early scenes that later on he gets nicer,
Yes.
but in the early scenes he's such a mean jerk.
No, it's okay.
And Brad had been regaling me with stories of your guys' time at the track, and he'd been telling me about how friendly everyone had been, and honestly, like, weirdly, that rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, hey, Brad said they were Brad said they were friendly to him. Why is this guy such a jerk?
I didn't expect them to be friendly. I really didn't.
Really nice.
And
Really?
the woman was so sweet, and she was older. And at one point, she looked at me and she said, "You're kicking ass." And
That's what he said. Yeah.
I was so shocked because I sort of expect them. I expect them to say good luck and be friendly, but I felt like she was
They're
really
working.
rooting
She was
for
on
me.
your side. It was fantastic. And and you did great at the track, picking horses purely by their names.
That's right. My system worked.
It did. It worked better than Max, your son, your
Yes.
oldest son, was poring over that racing form to the point where he was still looking at it after we left the track.
For sure.
That night. And I was sort of doing a little bit of that, but you kicked Max down the street. Trotter and Looney get as close to the track as they can, with space being made by a huge man who shoves everyone aside. And this is another character. He's in like 2 scenes, but he's so memorable and so great. Like, it's just this gigantic man who shoves people aside so you can get in.
There's also a great line here where Looney says, "I have a bad feeling," and Richard Dreyfuss is like, "In order to have a bad feeling, you've had a good feeling. So you have no frame of reference."
Yes. I wrote that line down. It's great. And it's
another mental math scene, too.
yeah, where he calculates how
Yep.
much the big guy makes shoving people out of the way.
Yep.
Normally, I do not like things where 2 people are supposed to be friends, but they're terrible to each other. With Looney, I can sort of understand Trotter. I get the feeling that no one else wants to be around Trotter and Looney, so they're just sort of stuck together.
De facto friends.
Yeah.
This is the thing that I think turned me off, is that in order to really get into the movie, you have to get into Trotter as a character and enjoy him. And I think that there were too many times in the movie where I was just like,
You didn't like him?
what a douche.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't be on his side.
When I first watched the movie, I don't really truly think that I was.
Yeah.
I think what actually happened the very first time I watched the movie, when I was probably, 10, was it wasn't until the Robbie Coltrane character started to root for him
Sure,
that
yeah.
I began to root for him as well.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that at
Yeah.
when we get to it.
Sure,
I
but
want to get
I
too ahead of
understand what
things.
you're saying.
But okay,
Yeah.
It is
I'm
an
glad we can meet in the middle here.
It is an obstacle that you have to get over, but I guess I sort of see it as Trotter's not the greatest person in the world,
No.
but he also does come to Looney's aid later.
Right.
When the chips are down, he does want to help other people. He does give people his tips. He gives Looney $50. Like, it's just...
Yes,
It's
he's
not-
very forthcoming about every time we were in line and you guys asked what I was going to bet. I could see Richard Dreyfuss going, "I'm betting on the 4 horse." You know, he kept telling everyone who he was. He was not hiding it.
Yeah.
You know,
He's not... He's just... Outwardly, he's not a good man, but inwardly he is.
I guess maybe I didn't see it that way, and if I watched it again, I would. But to me, it felt like what moments of goodness he portrays, like I said in the opening, kind of came out of nowhere for me. They didn't seem set up by his behavior in other parts of the film. Again, if you're saying that you had to watch it a couple times to get it, maybe I need to too. And I mean, it's definitely not a bad movie, and I think it's... By the way, this movie only has a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's a crime.
Yeah, this movie was very poorly received, which is insane.
It's not bad. It just didn't work for me because of Jay Trotter.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think I have... As much as I prefer, especially in sitcom shows where people are actual friends.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot. Mike Schur shows are your
Mike
favorite.
Schur, Schitt's Creek.
Yes.
Trotter establishes himself as a real friend to Looney by giving him the $50, giving him the tip.
Yes.
He didn't really give him the tip, but he's like, "You need to bet on this.
Right.
This is a thing that we need to do."
and they see the people at the track, so at
Yeah.
that point they do know that it's real.
Oh yeah, no, they eyeball the people at the track, and they even read their lips saying to the jockey, "Run fast
then
and
win. Yeah.
Yeah, which
Great advice.
Great advice.
reminds me of the sports advice from one of my favorite movies, Better Off Dead, teaching a guy how to ski. He's like, "Go that way, really fast. If something gets in your way, turn."
That's it.
It's the
Have you ever
best.
seen Better Off Dead?
I have, but it's been many
good.
years.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
The races begin. The races are shot really well. They're very tense. The race ends with a photo finish. We learn Looney did not bet. The photo finish was between Charity and Blurred Image. We get one of my favorite line readings in the movie. You know, Blurred Image was Marty's horse. He'd be thrilled to pieces if he won.
Yeah, I have that written down too. That he's busy talking about Marty's horse during the photo finish. He doesn't even really seem to be rooting for him. I think he doesn't even believe that there's... At no point does he believe there's a chance that he's going to win this.
Yeah,
No, not at all.
I also get the feeling that Looney is just not very focused in general.
For sure.
Agreed.
And here we get more of this cartoony Daffy Duck sort of thing. Trotter is sliding down the railing like he's melting. The photo review lasts a long time, much longer than any of the photo finishes did when we were at the track. They seem to get resolved pretty quickly.
Did you think so?
I did.
When we all bet on the same horse and it was contested or whatever?
Well, that was the contesting.
Yeah.
That wasn't the photo finish.
It took so long.
That did. But what happened was, in one race, we all bet on the number 5 horse, Anchor So Real. And at the last minute, he pulled up alongside and won. We all lose our minds, and we're so happy. And then it's a photo finish, so we have to wait a little bit. But we're so excited. And then they say there's an inquiry into the results. But at that point, I think we were also still high on the hit of winning that we didn't even care about the inquiry. That inquiry did last a little bit.
It's stressful when you're waiting.
Horse names crack me up. I don't.
They're
not like
based on the
they're,
name.
they're not like
you.
the names of any other animal. You would never name a cat what you would name a horse.
No, I love it.
But what was the one, shrimp and something?
Shrimp and grits.
Shrimp and grits. I'll never get over that.
What was the one that I bet on in the first race?
Cheddar.
Odds on cheddar.
Odds
on cheddar. I bet on odds
cheddar.
on cheddar in the first race, and it was a long shot.
What a
And
great
I am
horse
telling
name.
you, this horse was nowhere near the other horses during the and at the very end, it just zoomed ahead of everyone and
Oh
almost
my
and won and I was going nuts.
Oh my
no, I don't
God.
think anyone else was sharing the joy because no one else. I don't think anyone.
Well,
else
I got a place or a show bet on that race.
Yes, you did.
So I was still excited
Yes.
about that.
Yeah.
But
But no-
Max.
Max was busy being kicked down the street.
Yes.
He wasn't too happy about it. And that was that first $59 I won on that race.
Nice.
Yeah.
Looney arrives with some drinks, and another line I love, I don't know why. Here, Trotter, have some nice beer. Just him calling it nice beer.
Sure.
And Charity wins. Trotter is essentially Daffy Duck. He screams at Looney about how unlucky he is.
Oh my God, this scene was so funny.
And Trotter repeatedly gives people light slaps on the cheek, like a cartoon, where he's just like he just
Literally.
finished shaving them and he's slapping on aftershave.
But don't you get really stupid excited when you win things?
Yeah, no.
Listen, I went to Knoebels the other day, and have you ever played Fascination? You go in that now it's air conditioned, so it's nice. A building there, and it's like bingo, but there are I don't know how many across and how many, and there's like a grid, and you're just rolling a ball, and it's a rubber ball, and it has to drop into the holes, and then you see which one it dropped into, it lights up, and you're just
nice.
you're trying to get, and for no reason, Max calls it Fantastics instead of Fascination.
Sure.
Let's go play Fantastics.
It's a good Broadway play.
So we were playing it, and I was like, oh my God. And when I won, I was ridiculous. Nobody else made any noises whatsoever. And I was like, yeah, I'm 52, that's me, It's like, we're just going to play until coverall, and coverall you get 2. So you're just going crazy. And Flynn's playing next to me, and Flynn's only rolling 1 ball.
Yeah.
And the lady has to come and say, you have 2, honey, roll balls. And they announced me as only having 5 left, and Max is looking over at me, and then other people are sort of catching up, but I'm the first one that only has 1 left. And then they announced that Flynn's number only has 5 left. And Max looks over and goes, is that Flynn? I said, yeah, sorry. And Flynn had only been using 1 ball 3/4 of the time and was doing better than most of the people in there. But I won. I won the coverall, which is the 50. You get 50, and I'm telling you what, I was so excited. I understand his
Right.
joy.
Yeah, no, he's...
What's the point of doing something like that if you can't enjoy the moment, the sheer
Absolutely.
joy of stupid, dumb luck and winning?
Absolutely. And especially Trotter, who views himself as so unlucky.
Yes.
This is a coup for him.
Yes.
And I just love it. He's a cartoon.
Yes.
Trotter cashes cashes his ticket, winning $710. Trotter goes to the bathroom and puts the money in his shoes, causing people to comment on how he's walking tall.
Yes, later that he seems to have shrunk.
Yes, after he places another bet.
Which does straight up seem like a joke that would be in Guys and Dolls.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you're walking tall. I put all these money in my shoes.
So he spent the money mentally at the window.
Yes.
And then he was also calculating how much the attendant in the bathroom.
Yes, and it's not as much as anybody else.
No.
He tips him $1 and says, "Hey, my kids are in college. This will pay for 15 minutes of tuition."
Get another
Trotter
joke.
tells him to buy another joke. And again, what I love about this world is how lived in it feels. Like, it really feels like Trotter... there's no, like, really heavy exposition where it's like, "Hey, I'm your friend Looney. I drive a cab, too, and I like to record people." It's all handled very well. And it just feels like a natural world that's being built.
You just pick up on there's none of that bizarre dialogue you would get in a modern day comics like, one of these days when you're recording your passengers, you're going to be in trouble, Looney.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for so long. Everything is established very organically.
Trotter goes back to the bar. Looney is sulking, and the bartender is bringing up a time when Trotter lost it all because he just kept following the bet. Trotter goes to leave, but finds the tape in his pocket. And here's another example of Trotter being a good guy.
Well, wait a second. Before that, I just want to point out, he's in the bar. Not only are they pointing this all out, they're all angry at him.
Yes, I wanted to talk
for
about that too.
not sharing the tip that he had. And... I mean, he did tell Sammy Davis Jr. or whatever that guy's name was. Cheeseburger in Paradise. He told him about what was going on. He didn't necessarily tell anybody else, but I just found that really, I don't know.
He wasn't secretive.
Hypocritical.
Sure,
of
he wasn't.
His
He wasn't
pals?
secretive
It's
about
supposed
it.
to be. Like, they're supposed to be unreasonable. Like,
Okay,
it's
so
like,
that is intentional then.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a thing where it's their...
I think it's all sort of tied into, like, luck itself is very fickle, but these people kind of represent that too. They're one minute they're with him, and the next minute they're not with him, and it sort of is just how that whole world is, isn't it? Everything is very fleeting and temporary and fickle. It doesn't make you like them very much, but again, you can't be rooting for them the whole time because then you're not,
Exactly.
You need to be just rooting for him.
I think this also helps bolster Trotter's place in the film as a good guy because he is unfairly attacked a lot in this movie.
He is.
So it's sort of like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where everybody's a jerk. Except in this, Trotter, Looney, like, people are decent. They're just sort of crappy to each other sometimes.
Okay. I'm happy that you guys are enjoying this.
You're enjoying it too. Don't undersell it.
I really like this movie, and if
you don't really like this movie.
I don't really like this movie, but I
You like
really
this movie.
enjoyed bits of this movie, and I will say, I think that a lot of other people playing Jay Trotter would have been far worse for me.
Absolutely.
Richard Dreyfuss's performance absolutely makes almost every scene he's in.
Who would be bad as Jay Trotter? Marlon Brando.
The shark from Jaws.
The shark from Jaws, Bruce.
Yes.
Bruce Springsteen. I don't think he could play Trotter.
I don't think Bruce Springsteen should play.
I don't think David Bowie would be great.
I think David Bowie could do anything, personally. But he is from space, so...
It would be extra mystical then.
It would be much. They would lean much more into the magic.
Yes, I think so.
If David Bowie was like, I'm going to bet on this horse, Looney. It would just be a very strange film.
Hello, I'm Jay Trotter. $50 on number 4.
Merry Christmas, Mr. Trotter.
And as I was saying, here's another example of Trotter being a decent man. He finds the tape in his pocket. He decides to go down to the stables. He finds the trainer and his cheating associate.
Yes.
And gives it back to him.
I did like that.
Yeah. And they're very skeptical.
Sure.
One of them keeps asking, is this the only tape?
This is
They
the
assume-
only tape. This is the only tape.
They assume he's going to blackmail
Of course.
them.
Right.
But he's just like, no, take it. I won. I don't need anything else. Again, Trotter's not greedy. He could easily blackmail them. And from your low opinion of him, you probably think he would. after he's done selling heroin to school
Well,
children.
Looney wants to do it later.
Looney does want to
This
do it.
this scene was more just me being confused about what angle the movie had.
Gotcha.
Where we just had the scene where all of his friends who'd been established as his friends in the earlier scene had turned on him. I wasn't and the character of Jay Trotter, with like all the picking on Looney he's been doing, and like, you're so unlucky, like he already seemed like kind of a nasty dude. So I was like, is the movie saying that he should have said that to his friends? In which case, is this? I wasn't sure if the movie was saying this was a good thing or a bad thing. I thought it was a good thing that he did it.
I don't
but
think-
like I didn't understand what morality the movie was like. If there was like some sort of honor among gamblers that everything needed to be chance, or else what's the point of it? You know, that sort of thing.
I think this time what I really noticed when I watched that part was the juxtaposition to how his friends were not at all happy for him.
Yeah.
But they were all sharing this joy, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden the guy is giving him another tip and giving him his tie
Yeah.
and giving him his spot at the jockey club, and they just genuinely have this moment where they're all excited, and they,
Yeah.
you know, and it's sort of a secret moment, obviously, because
Yeah.
they did this illicitly, but the fact that they seem genuinely happy for him, complete strangers, juxtaposed with the fact that his friends didn't seem to want, it just made that moment extra special, you know, and built toward the next bit.
He gives Trotter his seat in
At the jockey club.
jockey club,
And a tip
gives her a
about-
tip about the third race.
Yeah.
About the third race, the number 7 horse,
Faith healer.
Trotter goes to get a burger, and the
Yes.
woman behind the counter somehow knows that he likes Faith Healer. Her name is Quinella, which is a type of bet in which the first 2 places in a race must be predicted, but not necessarily in the correct order, which is something to remember for next time.
Nice to know.
And there's a moment. Well, are you about to get to it?
Quinella is played by Mary Warrenoff, who was also in an almost featured movie on this podcast called Mortuary Academy.
Oh yeah, what happened to that movie?
I tried to. Well, that was before I started vetting movies. Before I was
Right.
taking notes.
Yeah.
And I started taking notes on Mortuary Academy, which is a knockoff of Police Academy, if you could not tell.
Oh, my.
Yeah. I started watching it and taking notes, and 1, it's a very bad movie, and 2,
Shocking.
this movie about mortuaries that you've never heard about
Oh,
is
my
bad.
goodness. Who doesn't like corpse hijinks?
Oh my god!
I mean, I love corpse hijinks, and so does Brad, and he hated this
you,
movie.
me, and Ed Gein. What better company do you
Yeah,
need?
yeah, exactly. If you want a good movie about corpse hijinks, Reanimator.
Reanimator is a good movie. I don't
Or
think you
Weekend
would,
at Bernie's.
or Weekend at Bernie's is the quintessential corpse hijinks.
I forgot
movie.
about that movie.
How did they make a second one of those?
How was he not rotten? I don't understand.
Exactly,
What,
yeah.
What sort of...
The second
involvement?
movie was The Court Case. It was directed by John Waters, and they had like an actual like human skeleton in the corner with the sunglasses on.
They put Bernie on trial like that dead Pope back in the Middle Ages. She also recites his fortune from last night. Trotter takes a bite of his bizarre and disgusting-looking burger. This doesn't even look like a burger.
No,
I try not to look at it because
I was
I
confused.
know that he's going to spit it out immediately, so I don't really like burgers. I don't want to look at it.
I put my head down to make a note, so all I saw was like the second before it went in his mouth. I was like, "What is he eating?"
It looked like 3 McDonald's sausage patties as a sandwich. Sausage patty bun, sausage patty meat. Which he drops and spits on the ground, and someone asks him if he's going to finish it.
When she recites his fortune cookie about sometimes being lucky without knowing it, he looks up at her and she is enveloped in smoke.
Yes.
And this sort of soft focus lens. This is where the magic of the magical realism really starts to kick in, where he's not just getting tips from a crooked guy. He's touched.
Yes.
And we'll see this more as the film goes on, but he is an actually touched magic place right now. He's having the good day he asked for.
Exactly.
They have a regular conversation, but then they seem to be having another layer of conversation that it seems as though she's
It almost
not
seems
aware
like
of.
she is temporarily possessed by something beyond this world.
She's like an oracle, and she's just inhaling the vapors of Apollo and prognosticating.
All I could think of when this scene was going on was Mr. Jackpots. Yes.
You have not seen the 3rd season of Twin Peaks. Spring is a big Twin Peaks fan.
Oh, good.
Has
Yeah.
not seen the new one. I don't know if she would enjoy it, but
I'll just say that there is a subplot very early on, so I don't think this counts as a spoiler, where a character gains the magical ability to know which machines in a casino are about to pay out. And so he just wanders through the casino, hitting every single one and getting all of the money. And
Kyle MacLachlan.
the mob who controls the casino thinks he's cheating, but they can't figure out how. It's just magic powers, baby.
I love it.
Yeah,
Every time he wins, Kyle MacLachlan goes, "Hello!"
because he sees someone doing that, so he's
Yeah.
like, "Hello!"
I love it.
And he ends up giving all of his money to some old lady, and then
Well,
later
he points her to a jackpot machine.
Oh,
and
that's
she
right.
wins, and it changes her life.
changes her life around. And again, much like this, where gambling leads to happiness and nirvana for everyone involved.
Tony Cheeseburger returns, now calling Jay Mr. Trotter because because Jay was right about the first one. Cheese gives him a couple bucks for a tip. Trotter bets all his money and lets it ride on Faith Healer. Looney runs up and suggests they blackmail the trainer. Trotter tells him he already returned the tape, and Looney flips.
The cinematography makes a weird, sudden shift where up until now it was a lot of wide shots of them going, or tracking shots of them talking in the hall. And then at this moment when Looney flips and is like, "I'm gonna get you, Trotter," like it suddenly zooms in like a Sam Raimi movie on his face and follows him in a janky handheld shot as, again, like a Sam Raimi movie, all the way to the booth to place another bet.
There's some style in this movie. Joe Pytka did not have the career he deserved.
I completely agree with that.
Not saying that I don't love Space Jam, but he should have done a movie in between that 7-year gap.
He should have
Granted, Let It
also
Ride
done-
bombed so hard.
Yeah. I will say, the more I was watching this movie and thinking about Joe Pytka and his career, not that I'm an aficionado of Pepsi commercials, but like thinking of the two movies I now know of his, I was thinking about the direction in Space Jam. As silly as that movie can be, the direction is way stronger than it has any right to be.
You get some good performances.
Like the opening sequence with child Michael Jordan feels like the opening to a much more serious movie before the Looney Tunes come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever they play basketball now, my boys, Max says to Flynn, "Shoot till you miss, Michael." So now Flynn says it all the time. Flynn doesn't even know what he's talking about. You have a 5-year-old say, "Shoot till you miss, Michael." It's really fun.
Aww. I love that scene.
Looney goes and bets $50 on Junebug, which shares the name of his cat.
Apparently I spoke too soon about no horse sharing a cat's name.
There you go.
Faith Healer wins.
Yay!
And Cheeseburger gives Trotter one of his many gold chains and then a long kiss on the mouth. And here's something I appreciate. Trotter, this is the late 80s. This
Yes.
could easily get very homophobic.
Yes.
And Trotter beats him away, but I really felt like it was more like, I don't consent to this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not that like, oh no, a man's kissing me.
No, yeah,
It's
I
like,
totally agree.
get away.
Cheeseburger is... What's the character's full name?
Tony Cheeseburger.
Tony Cheeseburger. I want to be respectful of Tony Cheeseburger.
Absolutely.
He definitely...
Senator Cheeseburger.
Senator Cheeseburger is definitely like built on a foundation of what could be a harmful stereotype, but he doesn't really come across that way because they never really dig into that. Like he
No.
definitely feels like, for example, the gay character from Mannequin.
Sure. I've never seen Mannequin.
It
I
has
saw that in
one
the
of
theater,
the
too.
most
Didn't you see the second one as well?
Yes.
is one of the most egregious examples of a gay stereotype. The big black guy in that movie.
Hollywood?
I think so. I don't remember.
Meshack Taylor?
Big fur coat, weird 80s sunglasses.
Yeah, he did.
He's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
flip up?
Hollywood.
Probably.
Because that's
yeah.
Meshack Taylor.
No, they were the uneven ones.
Oh.
Like,
Yeah, they were.
could-
That's right. They were the uneven ones.
Again, I haven't seen this movie. I don't know why I'm throwing
Yeah, I don't know
actors.
what.
No, I'll tell you about Mannequin.
But the point is, he's there, but it's never commented on. No one ever has a problem with him. No one ever uses an F word like they very well might have. Even Bill and Ted has an F slur. Unfortunately, yeah. But
By the way, the new Bill and Ted is pretty good.
it's
I
pretty
wanted
great.
to see it. I did.
It's pretty great. And I think that's the only one that doesn't have an F slur in it.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
and again, I don't know that Tony Cheeseburger is gay. I think it's just like, I'm so happy I'm going
Yeah,
to kiss this man.
Yeah, I don't.
So it's more my reaction of like Trotter being kissed, where it's like
He's just supposed to be a silly character, but
Yeah.
that role, and especially with the deep V that he's got going on in the chains,
it was the
It's-
80s,
it's-
Billy. You
it's-
weren't alive. I was alive for 2 years.
I'm just saying it's a place that they very could have easily gone to a bad place, and they
True.
didn't do that. They
No, they
didn't do
didn't.
that. So I appreciate that.
Trotter wins $2,450. The cashier asks Trotter for his shoes because he knows that's where he stores his money.
He looks so disgruntled.
Yes.
Like, he really is irritated with him. At the beginning, he was like,
Yeah.
this is the $50 window.
yeah, not the
Exactly.
$5.
Very
You know,
condescending.
Yeah.
If you're gonna put a bet on 3, you have to go to the $5 window.
But here's where the shift slowly starts to happen, because before Jay leaves, he musses
Musses
up
his
his hair
hair, and he goes,
gives him the slaps.
Yep.
Gives him the slaps, and Robbie Coltrane just goes,
Yep. That sound too.
I wrote
hair mussing.
Robbie Coltrane is very charismatic and very underrated.
and he only gets better as this movie goes.
Oh my
He just
God, I
gets
love him so
better
much.
and better. Trotter goes to the jockey club and is seated at a table with Vicky and her wealthy boyfriend Bernie. He tips the waiter with his shoe money.
Yes.
Vicky is played by Jennifer Tilly.
Yes, Jennifer Tilly, the busty, baby-voiced titan of the late 80s, early 90s.
The woman who married Chucky.
Yes.
And she's actually a professional gambler in real life.
Is she?
Yeah, her father was a professional gambler and taught her how to play poker from a very young age. And she has gone on all the different poker circuits and continues to play professionally to this day.
I think Jennifer Tilly should have been the Robert De Niro role in Casino.
I agree.
That's the truth. She has more experience than he does.
I
true.
completely agree. I completely agree.
I really want to see Jennifer Tilly and Joe Pesci match wits.
Oh my god, just the helium voices going at each other.
I love her line.
What's going on? I don't know.
I think...
He says she has very long legs.
Oh, yeah.
She makes
She
every
says-
line in this movie sing.
They
She's
go
so
from my
good.
ass to the floor.
And then Bernie goes, that's true.
Yeah, that's true.
And Bernie's like, I have so many bathrooms. I don't know how many bathrooms I have.
6. He has 6 bathrooms.
My favorite Jennifer Tilly line read is after Trotter introduces himself, and
Yeah.
Jennifer Tilly says, thank you, likewise.
Yeah, I know. I love it too. The way that she says any of these lines
It's
is
so good.
It is.
I feel bad for Jennifer Tilly because she's a great actress. She's great
Yeah.
with characters. She's in the
very
movie.
funny.
She's in the movie Bound, which is a dramatic role, and
Oh, yeah.
she's fantastic in that. But clearly, she's one of those people who is so beautiful and has such noticeable assets that it sort of overshadows her actual talent.
She does, yeah, and that's something that she makes fun of a lot. And I was watching a lot of interviews with various cast members, hoping I could find someone to talk about this movie. There are no interviews about this movie anywhere.
No,
But I was watching a bunch of Jennifer Tilly. She makes fun of her, the way people perceive her a lot in her own interviews, and so she seems to be very aware of where people see her, even though she's worth a lot more than that.
Now, when we went to the track, we were not in the jockey club.
No.
And so we didn't get drinks brought to us. We had to go search out our own water. And we decided to split up to find water. And I went to a bar while you guys went to a gift shop. And
It was a coffee stand.
okay, whatever it was. I got 3 cups of water just as you guys were getting done buying brownies and bottles of water. And I doled out the cups. And I remember you and me were walking back to the track. And we look back, and poor Max, who's in a wheelchair, is holding his cup and wheeling with one hand, barely making any progress.
So we covered twice the amount of distance, and we just turned around. And I'm like, "Oh my god!" And he's like, "It's okay." And the water was super full
Yeah.
too. So, and he's leaning over.
So you went back to help and kick him down the street.
I
Yes.
took his
Yes.
water, and we all...
Yeah.
Yeah.
A waiter asked Trotter for his drink order, and he cracks a joke about if wild turkey is in season, and he gets light laughter from the entire place.
Yeah.
Again, this heightened reality, this idea that, like, Trotter is, like, where he belongs now. And everyone loves him. It's all pure fantasy, and I love it. It's just... It's almost like Gabriel Garcia Marquez with the magical realism.
I didn't understand that reference.
Well, you're dumb. A different attractive lady who is not Jennifer Tilly
Yes.
asked Jay for a pen. This woman is Mrs. Davis, and she is actually played by Michelle Phillips from the Mamas and the Papas.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome!
California Dreamin'.
I love the Mamas and the Papas.
Do you?
I do.
I'm going to quiz you later.
I'm not the biggest aficionado, but I like what I've heard.
You're a super fan. You just told me.
Whatever.
Mrs. Davis likes Lord Byron in The Fifth Race. Trotter loves Lord Byron.
Love Lord Byron.
Because she's hitting on him
absolutely.
unabashedly.
Absolutely.
She's a professional gambler.
She's there every day.
Yep. Does it destroy your... How does it affect your home life?
Yeah.
Ruined it.
Yeah.
And her husband's on oxygen.
Yes.
Uh,
They're hitting on each other. Jennifer Tilly is hitting on him, and I think this is another thing that made me not like him. Is I wrote down, "Stop hitting on the ladies. You have Terry Garr at home."
But
they aren't together. Like, they're supposed to reconcile that
Yes.
day. He is not living at home. He is supposed to come home.
he doesn't do anything.
Nope.
He never
No.
does anything, even when given the chance. He's just enjoying the attention because he's Richard Dreyfuss. Richard Dreyfuss isn't exactly like anyone's dream date.
No.
I don't know. I've seen the mustache.
1989 Richard Dreyfuss
No.
shows up at your...
Oh, just shutting this down immediately.
No, yep.
Immediately.
I was 10, number one.
No, time travel situation.
Yeah,
I think he always looked old.
he did.
Oh, yeah.
there's
Even
never-
as Hooper and Jaws,
And
like, he sort of
the
looked like an
youngest,
old man.
the
Yeah.
youngest version of Richard Dreyfuss that exists.
Richard Dreyfuss or Robert Shaw?
Why can't I think of who Robert Shaw is?
He's Quint in Jaws.
In Jaws.
I love to go swimming with bow-legged women. Dream date, Richard
There has
Dreyfuss
to be
or
a
Robert
secret
Shaw?
option number 3.
Sure.
Swimming in the shark-infested water.
Ouch. Thank God Robert Shaw is dead. And Richard Dreyfuss, I'm sure, is reeling in his nursing home. He goes to bet on Lord Byron, but is arrested because he is mistaken for a pickpocket named Morgan. Trotter is so insistent on betting Lord Byron.
This is
Go ahead.
ridiculous.
Say it.
This is this screwball music just happens, and he breaks through the door.
He runs through the door. Again, like a cartoon.
Classic Superman style. Just bursts
Yes.
right through it.
And he's trying to get to the betting window. Again, like you said, cartoony music. I'm sure if they could have afforded yakety sax, they would have played yakety sax.
Absolutely, they would have played it.
Looney dives in front of him. Trotter trips. He goes sliding head first, still handcuffed. He kicks off his shoes, picks up his shoes with his teeth, but the betting window closes right before he can get there. Back at the police station, another one of my favorite line readings. Trotter is gagged and explains that the money in his shoes are a result of him having a very good day. See, are you enjoying this more as we're recounting it to you?
I'm enjoying the same parts that I did enjoy when we were recounting it, when I was watching it. I'm afraid there's you're describing it the way that you guys describe it. It's a movie that I kind of wish that I'd seen because I didn't see it the way that you guys saw it. To me, like the cartoony things that would happen seem to happen for a while, and then we would go back to a more realistic tone.
That's fair.
And it kind of get to like Joe versus the Volcano had this fantastical thing all the way
All the
through,
time.
and the tone for me felt a lot more consistent than it does here, where it feels like they're just kind of dipping their toe into that water and then bringing it right back out. And I'm like,
True.
I need this to be. I need you to go a little bit farther with the concept. Also, I believe this is, on the way to making the bet on Lord Byron, he has an encounter with Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah.
And on the way past, he's like, she's the kind of girl that makes me want to have access to Quaaludes or something like that. He makes a Quaalude joke, and I wasn't okay with that. I wasn't on board.
I think he meant, like, maybe she needs Quaaludes because she's so
up. That's how I took
like,
it.
She
Absolutely.
is a lot.
Yeah.
I wanted to interpret it that way, but she's actually kind of sort of reserved for a Jennifer Tilly role in this
But
movie.
again, if you're Jay Trotter and a woman like Jennifer Tilly is hitting on you, you're probably going to think there's something wrong with her.
I guess, but I just thought that was a misstep.
If you were you and Jennifer Tilly was hitting on you,
Yeah.
you would think there was something wrong with her. I love you.
Thank you.
You're one of my best friends, but you're not in Jennifer Tilly's league.
I accept that.
I'm glad. That's the first step.
I'm not Brad Dourif.
No one is.
No one is.
Not even Brad Dourif.
Not even Brad Dourif is Brad Dourif.
Luckily, Lord Byron loses,
Yes.
which Jay is ecstatic about because he didn't
Didn't
lose.
lose. I
He
didn't
didn't lose.
Back in the Jockey Club, Trotter continues to be charming when he gets a page for Dr. J. Trotter. And this is a bit I don't understand, but I love, that his wife just pages him as Dr. J. Trotter. I like to assume that he's a disgraced surgeon who fell from grace, and now he's taxi driving, now he's betting on horses. This is really an alternate Doctor Strange movie.
I didn't get it when I was watching the movie, but I think in retrospect, maybe she was like, I really want to get through to him. If they think that I'm calling a doctor, they will get the phone through to him much quicker and won't give me as much guff.
Also, they're so out of place there. I feel like she thinks he has to be important to
Okay.
even be there. You
Gotcha.
know?
Maybe.
That's not their world,
Yeah.
clearly. And this is when both women are hitting on him. He's got both of them running their feet
Their
up
feet
his
up his
legs.
legs, yeah.
And they say there's a fine line between winning and losing. And he says, yeah, the
Finish line, which is not clever at all, which
No.
is just an actual fact.
Yeah. But everyone is...
Everyone, again, light laughter throughout the entire
Yes.
Jockey
Yes.
Club. He has them on a string. I want to take a brief digression,
Okay.
just to talk about something personal. I'm a seeker. Like, I look for these strange movies. I look for these different movies, and a big help to that. A few years back, the first time I got laid off from a seasonal job, in my depression and boredom, decided, like, I'm going to log all my movies on this site called Listall. And I found this gentleman on Listall who went by the name Jay Trotter,
Oh.
who compiled these lists of bizarre, obscure, and underrated movies, which, of course, Let It Ride was on, which is where it first came on my radar. And this guy just compiled such great lists.
Yeah.
And introduced me to so many movies that I can't think about Let It Ride and Jay Trotter without thinking about that Jay Trotter, who unknowingly, and even not like a celebrity or anything, just had such an impact on my life. So I just need to shout out the Listall Jay Trotter, also on Letterboxd Jay Trotter.
Is he also on Letterboxd?
Yes.
Awesome.
He's not as active anymore, but he's a great dude with great taste in movies, obviously because Let It Ride seems to be one of his favorites. But it's Trotter's wife calling.
Yes.
Wondering why he isn't home. She's in lingerie. She's ready to go.
I wrote down you were hitting on two other women at the Jockey Club. Terry Garr was waiting to roll in the hay with you, you idiot.
Pam flips out. Trotter insists he's not gambling because he's winning.
Yeah, he says, I'm not gambling, I'm winning!
Yeah.
And that's something they talked about earlier, too.
Yeah.
It's not betting if it's a sure thing.
Exactly.
Right.
Pam threatens to call her a lawyer, but Trotter tells her to come down to the Jockey Club. Pam says, after she hangs up, Pam sort of mutters to herself that she'll give Trotter one more try.
I love the line when she says, I know there's nothing special about it, but she says, you're making me hate you. I completely understand. I feel like I have said that to people before. You're making me hate you, because she really wants him to be the better man. And he was going to be the better man, and now here they are in this situation
And here's
again.
where I think the movie also helps your problem, where it's like, Terry Garr is the most reasonable person in this movie. She gets big, she flips out, but she has
She's a
Jay
very
Trotter
solid
maybe
point.
gambles too much,
Yeah.
and he loses a lot. Sorry.
That's okay.
So she's sort of like, she's the one calling out Trotter.
Yes.
And Trotter's behavior is actually really destructive for her. And we see that. It's played for laughs, but it is an actual consequence of his actions. And again, it's this thing where it's like, Jay Trotter isn't the best, but again, he's going to come back and he's going to stand by his lady. He's going to do right by her.
This is counterpoint. This is the part that made me dislike the movie the most, actually,
Really?
was all of his interactions with Terry Garr.
Okay.
Because to me, I see where you're going with it. But for me, Pam is the most reasonable character in the film, even though he's got this magical gift that has come from on high that is making everything work out for him. She doesn't know that.
She doesn't.
And all she has is how much he is putting stock in this over the promises that they made each other at the beginning of the movie.
True.
And so throughout the film, like when she finally does arrive, he makes the completely baseless statement, based on everything that we've seen of her going so far in the movie. You know what I think? It's not that you didn't like my gambling, you didn't like my losing, which is, again, maybe that's true.
Probably true.
Yes.
But we have not seen anything in the movie to substantiate that. And from what I've seen in the film with her, like, she was all ready to accept him. She was all ready to get him back and to make this marriage work, even after he dared to have the problem with the magic cookie. But she was all ready, and I just think the movie seems to think that I'm going to side with Trotter a lot more than I am. I'm on Pam's side entirely in every one of their arguments.
I just think that they're very different. I think the fortune cookie thing highlights the fact that she is not superstitious. She's not imaginative.
Yeah.
She doesn't go in for that sort of swept away, lucky feeling. That this sort of moment, this day, I don't think would or could happen to her.
No, and even if it did, she wouldn't understand it.
Right. But he is willing to go with that. And so that's sort of their divide.
Yes.
She doesn't see that luck or feel that luck or experience it.
Absolutely.
And she's just established as a very pragmatic character who is rightfully irritated. I would be irritated as well. It's completely justified, but you have to have that level of conflict.
Exactly.
If she came in and was like, sure, gamble.
No, here's, I guess, where I have a problem is the movie begins with them together. Mm-hmm. It gives equal weight to both characters in the beginning, and then the rest of the film is entirely Jay Trotter. Sure. Which, there are a lot of characters in this movie, and not all of them get focused, that's fine. But it feels like Pam's arc is curtailed, and in the end of with the whole movie in front of me, she came off as more of a prop to add conflict to his story than her own character. And that bothered me.
This is not one of the great female characters in cinema, I'll
Sure.
give you that. But I think she's given her due. She's not made... Again, she seems reasonable, as we're saying. She's not made into this ridiculous shrew.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Everything she says is reasonable. And she tries to abide by Trotter. Mm-hmm. Again, this is made to...
It could have worked. Like, all these scenes could have worked. What finally clinched it in the end was, and I am getting a little bit ahead of myself, is that it seems like she decides that she's okay with it at the end because he gets her a diamond necklace, not because he explains to her or she suddenly has imagination or she sees Santa Claus or anything, or any kind of character growth. It's because he bought her a diamond necklace.
Let's talk about that when we get to it.
Okay.
While Trotter is on the phone, two men enter, a bookmaker named Lufkin, and his muscle, Johnny Casino.
Oh my God.
Lufkin is played by David Schramm, who is Roy on Wings. A bizarrely common mention on this show. Or maybe not even on this show, just in our conversations together. I bring up Steven Weber a lot. A pillar of America, Steven Weber.
It's Tony Shalhoub. We've been talking a lot about Tony
Shalhoub
Shalhoub
is
lately.
great. Have you ever seen Galaxy Quest?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
And Johnny Casino, one of my favorite performances in the movie. He looks like a Hollywood Shane McGowan. I know neither of you get that reference. And he's played by Richard Edson, who has unfortunately not been in a lot. Although he was a garage attendant in Ferris Bueller's Day
There it
Off.
is.
That's
Yep.
right,
I was like,
yes.
He's in something else that I really love.
He's one of the people who
I know. Let's not get into the Matthew Broderick thing.
drives the car over the ramp with the Star Wars music playing in the background.
When I was a little girl, I used to watch that movie over and over again, and I absolutely
It's a great moment.
loved that
It's a great moment.
much. It was prior to all of the other
Okay. Per your wishes, we will not bring up the fact that Matthew Broderick killed two women in Ireland.
Great job.
That childhood
Great
movie.
job respecting
I love
Spring's
that.
wishes, Brad.
I don't like that movie anyway. I think Ferris Bueller is a jerk.
That's okay. Well,
We don't need to
sort of
talk
is,
about
but
it.
the jerks are the people that are always super popular for no reason anyway.
Okay. We don't need to talk. We don't need to litigate Ferris Bueller or Matthew Broderick at this time.
Okay.
Lufkin is looking for Looney, who owes him money because he lost on the Packers.
75-10. Really? 75-10. That's like my husband and son went to a doubleheader Orioles baseball game many years ago.
Yeah.
It was a doubleheader. I cannot emphasize this to you enough. And I was watching the bottom line on ESPN because I stayed home and I was, trying to keep up with the score. And it was like 10-3, 13-3.
Oh no.
17-3, and I said, "This isn't real." And we didn't have cell phones, and I was like, "This isn't real. This is a freaking football score. Like this is not a real thing." The Orioles lost 33-3. Whoa! It was the first game in a doubleheader. It was the first game in a doubleheader, and they stayed for the second game. It's so when I heard that 75-10, yeah, I hear that 75-10, and it's that otherworldly where you think that score could never happen. There are instances, obviously, in sports where crazy things like
talking
that
about
happen.
Magical realism.
Yeah,
jeez,
so it was unbelievable to me. The first game in a doubleheader.
Did they project Schindler's List on the outfield just to make it more of a tragedy?
Max said eventually the Orioles fans were cheering because the Rangers just kept hitting, I think it was the Rangers, kept hitting home runs.
Wow.
And he said eventually the Orioles fans were just like, good on ya, like, we don't have anybody on our team apparently, so we'll just root for yours. Like, there was nothing else what can you do?
You're kicking our asses, but you're doing it with style.
Yeah.
I gotta give it to you.
Well, after it's record breaking.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm part of history.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
Trotter goes looking for Looney. He finds him selling blood. Looney keeps insisting that Trotter screwed him over.
Wait.
Okay.
One of my most favorite things is in the bar right before that.
Yeah.
Evangeline says she's really cheesed off.
Yes.
Why don't people say cheesed off?
You can say it. You
I
have
know,
that power.
Up until this moment in the movie,
I can put it on your tombstone if you'd like.
No.
Evangeline,
She died cheesed off.
Evangeline is the name of the 19-year-old girlfriend of Sid
Cynthia
that we mentioned earlier, and she has been so quiet and just like following Sid around and being okay.
She
and
clearly wasn't part of this world.
Yeah.
She's a naive waif that he picked up. She has
necklace
braces.
gets caught in her braces
Yes.
at one point.
And in between scenes, she has turned into a hard gambler. In one of my favorite moments in the entire movie, she's just like, "I'm really cheesed off. Really cheesed off."
I half expected her to pull off of the horse.
Yeah.
I half expected her to pull out a giant stogie and just be like, "I just it really cheeses me off."
Smoking by the end.
Yeah.
She's smoking and
I have half a mind to go down to the bank and get out all of my money.
yeah. And at the end, she says, "All 200 of my dollars."
That's right.
She's something I want to say about that at the end. Don't let me forget.
Okay.
She's gone through a journey in between
She
scenes.
has.
Yeah.
I would almost like to see a movie of that character where she's just like, she gets rooked in by this. And Sid is very young, probably not much older than Evangeline, but he's very guys and dolls out. He's in the suit. He's clearly, at one point he's talking about the beer, how the head contains all the
nutrients.
all the vitamins.
Your A's, your B's, your C's.
She's like, "Oh, you're so smart, Sid."
It's a wonderful little subplot.
It is, and he
it is
looks
a
sort of
wonderful
sleazy,
subplot.
but he really seems to care for her.
Absolutely. He unhooks her necklace from her braces.
Very delicately.
In the opening scene, there's almost like a sort of a fear that you're like, is he taking advantage of her?
Exactly.
And then by this scene, that it turns it around. We're like, no, she doesn't need protection from him. He needs protection from her.
Because, again, ultimately is a feel-good movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trotter keeps insisting that, or Looney keeps insisting that Trotter screwed him over.
Yes.
Even though that was clearly not true.
No.
And again, this is why the movie is on Trotter's side, because people unfairly accuse him of stuff like this. Like, we feel for him, because...
He does try and deny Looney 3 times in the jockey club, but then he finds out what situation he's actually in, and he does turn around at that point.
Well, the cock didn't crow, so it doesn't fulfill Jesus'
That's
prophecy.
true. That's very true.
On the way out, Trotter tries to give the nurse $20.
Tell me it's rare blood.
Tell me he has rare blood. Give him this 20 instead of the regular 10. And she says, his blood is rare. He gets 75. Takes the money back.
Yes.
That was a Mo from the Three Stooges moment.
I love it.
It's like, Curly has a rare form of blood that's curing all kinds of different cancers. It's like, well, he owes me money.
And again, kind of a jerk move, taking back the money he was trying to give to his friend.
No, that was...
But Looney is being so awful to him. Exactly. And Looney clearly is responsible for his own.
100%. But again, this is a moment that could make Trotter seem like a jerk, but really
Sure.
he's being reasonable, and it's,
This moment didn't bother me in terms of that stuff. It was mostly, when in terms of him being a jerk, it was mostly the stuff with his wife. This stuff with Looney, I thought was just classic old-fashioned comedy right
gotcha.
Yeah.
Pam comes to the jockey club. She tries to get the money from Trotter, which becomes a shouting match,
She says, "Can't you just watch the horses run around the track?"
and everybody laughs at her. Which, I don't know, I kind of understand, because we've watched the horses run around the track, and it's hard to see a lot of it.
Yes. It is
So
very
there's
hard
not
to
a
see it.
whole lot of enjoyment to be like.
You're not
you can-
invested in it if you're not.
Exactly.
But I suppose. See, but again, she doesn't buy into this world or any of that.
Exactly, and
So-
she's reasonable in her
Yeah,
mind.
yeah. You could root for a horse and not have money riding on it.
You can just watch the pretty horses run.
Yes.
Just like you root for a baseball team and you don't necessarily have to put money
Exactly.
on them.
Right. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Trotter leaves, saying he's going to take his shoes off elsewhere to get the money, but instead he sneaks off to the betting window. And here I can see definitely the Trotter being a jerk, because as soon as you go behind your wife's back, imagine if Gupp took, let's say, $18,000 and bet it on ultimate frisbee competition.
That would be a problem.
So here's
problem.
here's more my problem with it is I don't necessarily mind Jay going behind his wife's back. Like, obviously that's not a good thing to do.
Yeah.
But in the context of the movie, he's an irrational person. He's Daffy Duck. I'm fine with him doing irrational bad things. I was more annoyed by this coming after a scene where she tries to put him in this place and everybody backs him up. It feels like the movie is being like, "Oh, that nasty wife getting in the way of his fun," kind of a thing.
I see what you're saying. She just doesn't fit in that world or understand
she
it in
doesn't.
any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
To the $18,000 point, though, really, he only took $100, right? He started with $100. He gave 50 to him.
Yeah.
And he kept 50, correct?
But now he has 2,000 some.
But he didn't take thousands of dollars from them. He took $100.
True.
So the other money isn't, like, you can in your head say it's not real. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
that money is never really yours. You know, you can justify
Money isn't real.
Well, it isn't real. It is fake. But
It is.
do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I understand what you're saying, but still, they now have $2,600. Jay Trotter is a cab driver. We don't know what Terry Garr does.
Right.
Maybe they really need this money.
They probably really do need the money.
So,
But I don't.
They need a new fridge. They say that repeatedly.
Yeah, they do. They
Yeah.
do.
and now I love this scene. This is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. The cashier, Robbie Coltrane, is now a fan.
Yes,
of
I love
Trotter's,
this. It's so. Here comes the champ.
telling him he has more guts than
Sense.
sense.
I wrote that down. More guts than sense.
And Trotter he asks him, what horse you going to pick? And Trotter doesn't know. So ingeniously, this is so great. He pulls as many people on the track as he can and picks the only horse that no one suggests.
I love that so much. It's one of my favorite montages
It's so
because he
great.
just and you see him cross it out. You see him cross each one out.
And in
the
the
four,
middle
I
of
like
it-
the four. The
In
four.
the middle of it, someone goes, up yours! The number one horse.
The number one horse, up
Yeah.
yours.
Up yours.
Yeah, that was a great one.
And he settles on number 3, Fleet Dreams. And all of the horses Trotter picks seem to have like a theme with the name, like
Yes.
Faith Healer, Charity, Fleet Dreams.
Right.
Trotter-
The first tip was charity, and
Yep.
then he gets faith healer after he has the prayer where he promises he's going to quit if he wins. Right. And now this is Fleet Dreams. Tuesday.
Just like let me take the chance.
yeah.
Wow,
Trotter stands to win $69,000 if he hits his bet.
nice.
The
Wow.
cashier asks Trotter if he doesn't want to hold a little back in case he gets hungry or thirsty. To which Trotter doesn't say anything. He just pulls out a handful, like a couple coins.
I love the repetition right there. 48 $50 win tickets on the 3-horse in the 7th race. They say it over and over again.
Yeah,
48
yeah.
50. So you want 48 $50 win tickets on the 3-horse. And I love it when Robbie Coltrane does the math. And he's going to say something and then he pauses for a second and keeps muttering for a little bit and then says
Robbie
the
Coltrane, everyone in this movie is fantastic.
Every single person.
Robbie Coltrane is probably my favorite. Johnny Casino is great, but he's not in enough to really be.
My favorite is still Looney.
I mean, Louie's a main
He's
character
great.
as far as
Yeah.
the side
Oh,
characters go.
Scars. Okay.
After the tickets print, the cashier offers Trotter a lucky strike.
The clicking is so awesome, though. They can only hear that sound, and it's just sort of echoing, because that's how that moment would be. The finality of it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we can't take it back now.
Yeah.
We weren't high rollers. We obviously weren't betting thousands of dollars.
No.
So whenever we got a ticket, it was always one. But I wonder if they still print multiple tickets or if it's just the one.
I wondered that as well, because there was, well, you had to go to a special window.
Yeah.
I don't even know that they had
I-
anything like that there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Offers him a cigarette.
Offers him a cigarette.
And the music is so slow
So
here.
it's the eye of the storm. The cashier gets kind of introspective.
Yeah.
And the whole track seems still, like everyone's watching Trotter lay this bet.
He says, "You're the greatest I've ever seen."
You're the greatest. He's the champ. He's the greatest he's ever seen. And he's going to tell his grandchildren about him. My favorite line in the film.
So he won a bet. He won another bet. He didn't bet when he wanted to bet and didn't lose.
Right.
And now he's placing another bet, and he's the greatest this man has ever seen.
Because he keeps
Letting it ride.
Okay.
Because he
And they're
keeps
the long shot
Yeah.
horses. Like, these horses
Oh,
in
that's
many
true,
cases
yeah.
should not win,
Exactly.
and nobody in their right mind would just keep letting it ride. Clearly, he didn't look like a $50 win ticket guy
No.
right from the beginning. This is
Right.
the $50 window, like not where he belongs, not
Right.
wherever. And
It's-
now he's just winning these excessive. He's not losing. The other thing is he's not losing either. It's not like he's
Exactly.
winning, losing, winning, losing.
Right.
When he bets,
he just keeps going.
he wins
And he's
wins
not
big.
he's not hedging his bets. Like if I hit when we were at the track, sometimes I would just okay, give me $10 on this, give me $3 on this, split it up. Sometimes I would get the payout. If I won like over $20, I would never be like, I would get that money. Like even $20 I wouldn't let ride. Trotter just keeps thousands of dollars letting it.
Meanwhile,
and-
my husband was texting me when I told him that I won. He was like, "You got to let it ride," and I was like, "I'm not letting $59." And that $59, I couldn't imagine letting ride. I didn't know what I was doing. But then again, the beauty of it is he doesn't know what he's doing either. That's also why I love it
Yeah.
so much. It's not like he's some sort of expert on this. He is using the same sort of methods that I would use.
And again, it's just part of Trotter's great day. It's part of this heightened reality. It's part of this
Yes.
this magical realism where it's like, you won 3 bets. You're the best I've ever seen. It's just part of the aura of his great day, and it doesn't matter because it's hilarious.
It's wonderful.
and it's so. Robbie Coltrane is so earnest in this role. Like,
And it's wonderful that he was won over slowly.
Yes.
It wouldn't mean anything if he was rooting from him from the
exactly.
beginning, for
Like,
him from
hope
the
he gets your
beginning.
long shot. No,
Yeah.
he was like, go to another window.
Yeah.
It's. I love it.
And this, right after this, when the security guard,
Oh my God.
it's so wonderful. The music comes back, and he turns around and has the security guard with him, and everyone is just applauding.
Yeah, the
The security guard is one of my favorite characters in the movie.
yes, yes, he's so good.
He's wonderful.
The cashier assigns a cop the same cop who arrested Trotter.
Yes.
To be his guard. I love this character. I love the interplay between him and Trotter.
Yes.
The cop's name is Reardon. He's played by John Roselius, who was in Lost Highway.
Oh, fun.
Yes. Unfortunately, he hasn't done a lot of other stuff. I'm assuming he was a very small part in Lost Highway, but he's fantastic in this.
He really is.
He is so good.
Yeah.
As Trotter leaves the window, the crowd parts, as you said, and an old lady kisses him again, like
Mr. Jackpots.
Mr. Jack. Again, it's all ridiculous. That's what makes it funny
But
and
that's-
makes it so fun.
And it's so beautiful.
It
That's
is,
what
like-
you want to have happen. Don't you just want to have a really good day?
Exactly,
And have
like-
other people appreciate your
to
really
be
good day?
so lucky that you are beautiful to others.
Yes.
He returns to the jockey club to tell Pam he placed a bet.
Which does not go over well.
No, it
as
does
you would
not.
Imagine.
She announces plans to end the marriage and storm out.
And she says what he predicted she would say earlier in the movies. I'm going to tell my lawyer to go for your balls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, she says that earlier on the phone.
That's right. Yeah. Well.
Fleet Dreams wins. Vicky is...
Yeah, Vicky.
You want to tell
She's
her?
well. I like when she says she's pert. If you like,
Literally everything that comes out of Jennifer Tilly's mouth in this movie is the funniest thing in the world.
And after Fleet Dreams wins, Vicky is so excited she leaps onto Trotter, knocks him over into a table. Now, apparently, the original script called for Jennifer Tilly to pop out of her top.
I wrote that right after we're skipping the old lady that sort of ogles him, and she's trying to hold back her cough, and she's smoking, so she's doing that grimacy thing, and it's super creepy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I said I wonder if they needed extra takes. Did she pop out because she's cheering so hard for his horse, and that dress is easily just above the nipple.
I was thinking
there is no way.
I was thinking that in the ending race scene, because she is bouncing up and down, screaming at the horse.
Agreed. And I guess by then I was like, well, she didn't pop out the first time. But even though I've seen the movie a number of times, I seriously
you're still kind of looking for it. You got the magnifying glass out.
Please don't let that, honey.
But apparently that was supposed to happen. But Jennifer Tilly said, "Hey, what if we don't?"
Good for her.
I always love. I always love when an actress is willing to defend her own body, and a director is willing to listen and say, "Okay, you're not comfortable with it. Let's not do it."
Right.
Another thing that makes me love this movie and Joe Pytka more, that he's just willing to be like, "Yeah, let's scrap it. You don't want to pop out. You're not going to pop out."
I think it would have been a bad choice if they had her popped out, because I think that the movie has such a Looney Tunes sort of vibe to it that I think that would push it into like an adult space that the movie hasn't earned at that point in the film.
I wouldn't want her objectified in that way. I mean, you do care about her.
Yeah.
You care about her by the end of the movie.
She has an arc.
Yes.
She does, yeah.
And to just have that happen really cheapens...
It turns it into a different movie for way too short of a time for it to matter.
I agree.
It is a movie about quote-unquote low people. The kind of people who go to horse tracks in our minds.
Right.
Yeah.
But that would just, like you're saying, lower the movie. Like, make it cheap.
Yeah.
It's a movie about cheap people, but it's not a cheap movie. Like, tonally, it's not cheap.
Agreed.
Sure.
This is the God Likes Me.
Yes. She's screaming. Trotter is shouting and cussing. He's making this huge scene. He does the Susan Lucci. No, it's not Susan Lucci. It's Sally Fields.
Sally Fields, yes.
You like me. You really like me. God likes me. He really likes me.
And
again, Richard Dreyfuss kills this performance.
He is so good. I feel like Richard Dreyfuss never got to stretch these cartoony legs enough. Like,
I feel like he's always on the verge of a stroke.
Again, it's between...
Tomorrow, Richard Dreyfuss is going to have a stroke.
No! Say it!
No, don't do that.
I will honestly, I feel guilty.
My brain's bleeding.
Between this and What About Bob, he really is the lost Looney Tune.
Yeah.
He should have been in Space Jam. A New Legacy. He should have been.
Oh my God, he should have.
What if LeBron James was just randomly friends with Richard Dreyfuss? Right. Like, that was his best friend.
Richard Dreyfuss is his grumpy neighbor who's like always making snide remarks about
shit. And like, Richard Dreyfuss brings over the Jaws shark to show his kids, and it's like, I still have it.
So Richard Dreyfuss just plays Richard Dreyfuss the way Bill Murray plays Bill Murray.
Exactly.
Come into the back room. I have Robert Shaw's skeleton.
This is the token F-word part. I feel like in every movie up until, I don't know when it stopped, but
it hasn't actually stopped. They keep doing it.
There seemed to be a period of time where anytime there was a PG-13 movie, they wanted to have at least one F-word.
Yeah, no, they definitely still do that.
Because they're allowed one.
They're allowed one.
But there's more than one in this one, and that's where I was... Because he says it
How'd
here,
they get away with
and
that?
then the Johnny Casino character says it.
That's right.
Well, Johnny Casino is a magical being.
Right, we don't count him.
I'm sure Richard Dreyfuss came into the MPAA screen and was like, "Hey, guys, you just need to let me say the F word. Just let me say it." Now the crowd has turned against Trotter, and he gets kicked out of the jockey club.
But before that, in a very commercial move, he blows a raspberry and absolutely horrifies the entire crowd.
Yeah.
So, and they're like, oh my God!
Yeah. They're so fickle, and he just accepts it. He just immediately accepts it, and he's just...
I have a feeling Trotter is used to getting thrown out of places.
I do too, and I don't feel like he's used to people who are particularly loyal, or I mean, the world that he lives in is, like I said, it's a very fickle world.
It's been established that your friends are just going to be like, "You jerk!"
It's easy come, easy go.
Exactly, just like gambling.
Yes.
So, is there any supposed to be any sort of upstairs downstairs sort of message to this about like his friends being better than these upper class? Because especially they spend a lot of time making Jennifer Tilly's boyfriend out to be the worst. So is there any kind of upstairs downstairs thing going on there, or is it just sort of like you say, easy come easy go kind
I
of
think
thing?
it's just
I
easy
think
come,
it's
easy
easy come, easy
go.
go.
I don't think this is a message movie. I don't think it's trying to say much aside from that.
I didn't mean necessarily message as much as like, you know, in a the kind of character that Jay Trotter's supposed to be. He's again like the Three Stooges or Abbott and Costello. He's wearing this crappy gray suit. Is crappy okay?
Sure.
He's wearing this crappy crappy gray suit, and he's got the mustache. He's this very sort of Charlie Chaplin-esque figure in that works in the movie's universe. But
Yeah.
that's the kind of the vibe that he's bringing. And generally, in those types of movies, their brush with the upper crust is always very brief and is just there to show that these people are just as much jerks as everybody else.
I think it's just to show the sort of arc for Trotter where he's like, I'm at what I feel is Mount Olympus.
Yes.
This is the height of luxury, the Jockey Club. Oh, crap. I said some cusses and now I have to leave.
So I was unduly excited over my win.
Yes.
Trotter tells Reardon, the cop, that he's hiring him for the rest of the day, and if anyone tries anything funny, he should shoot
Shoot
him.
him on sight. Shoot him on sight. And
Shoot him on sight.
Oh my god.
Immediately after, Looney jumps out in a ski mask,
yeah.
and right after that, Johnny Casino shows up to collect from Looney. And I didn't write any of Johnny Casino's lines down, but his delivery, his character is so perfect. He's just this greaseball where he's like, "Hey, you owe me money."
Yeah.
And he plays it with such like confidence. Like he's
Yeah.
he's the worst person in the world, but he's just so at home with who he is.
Exactly.
It's like when Michael Clark Duncan played a villain. It's just so at home with his nastiness.
Trotter agrees to pay Looney's debt. Trotter gets his payout, but as he does so, he's mentally going through.
It's layered, so as he's counting, as Robbie Coltrane's counting the money up, Richard Dreyfuss is spending it. So
Yes.
that by the end, he says, "I'm broke."
Do you do this when you get money? When you, I'm sure it's direct deposit for you, but do you, when you, either of you, when you get money, are you like, okay, this needs to go to this needs to go to this, or are you just like, I have money?
With my ADHD, numbers have very little meaning to me, so no, I can't do that.
I know.
I wish I could.
I don't think I ever received in my hand an actual paycheck. I think it's always been direct deposit.
Really?
Like, I don't think I've ever had a choice. And so it really isn't, money is not real. Like, it goes in there, and like
it's just
mentally I know
numbers.
there's a number of, and it just
Yeah.
gets transferred. Very rarely am I holding it in my hand.
He declares he's broke.
Yep.
After he just won $69,000. He tries to weasel out of paying Looney's debt.
I love
Yes.
it how low the parking tickets are on the list the first time when he goes through to spend the money. At the very end, it's like parking tickets. Those little things are funny.
Yes.
But he does anyway, because Trotter is ultimately a good man who stands by his terrible friend who curses him even after he tried to help him.
Again, it's a very sort of Moe from the Three Stooges or Abbott from Abbott and Costello moment where he's like, okay, fine.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Reardon and Trotter go back to the bar. One of my favorite moments.
I love it.
Reardon posts up and talks about how he is gifted with peripheral vision.
Yes.
And he can see everything in the bar. There's a man throwing up on the billiards table.
You can see his
there's
ears.
you can see his ears. There's a fly on the cash box.
It reminds me so much of the part from the Royal Tenenbaums with Dudley when he
he's
comes
like,
out and he says,
"There's a dent in
in the
this
car,"
cab.
and another one here, and here. And I don't know why that has always been hilarious to me, but that is one of my favorite parts of Royal Tenenbaums, and that's
this
what this
is-
reminds me of.
Trotter calls Pam, who has decided to become an alcoholic.
That's how she's going to deal with it.
That's how she's
It's very practical.
She loves Trotter too much
Yep.
to go away, so she's just going to become an alcoholic.
Poor Pam.
Billy, have you
Yes.
ever decided to become an alcoholic?
I've thought about it.
Yeah, you should do it.
I should do it.
It's pretty great.
I mean, another round made it seem really cool.
Another round makes it seem pretty great, except for that dude who jumps in the ocean.
Except for that dude who jumps in. Yeah, that's the only thing that this movie is missing from another round. Well, one, it's missing the far more grounded tone of another round.
And a
also-
dance number.
And a dance. Oh my god, this movie needs a dance number.
Do you think Dickie Dreyfuss can dance?
Absolutely, Dickie
Yes.
Dreyfuss can dance.
He dances in something.
What is he dancing? I want to see him dance.
Isn't he in a musical?
Doesn't he dance? Does he dance in Moon Over Parador when he's that plays? Did you ever see Moon Over Parador?
I've seen part of it.
Because they get him to be the dictator, like he dresses
No,
up like the,
yeah.
Doesn't he have to dance with oh my god, her name just went out of my head. You know who I mean? She died.
It doesn't matter. Zsa Zsa
Anyway,
Gabor.
no. But, I feel like he has to dance with her in that. Am I making that up?
I have no clue.
I
I've
bought
not
that movie
seen-
like a year ago. I haven't watched it. I watched Let It Ride, and then Moon Over Parador just sat. Plus, nobody will watch these movies with me at home. So,
Max
no.
likes Let It Ride.
Yeah, but I had to watch it first and be like, okay, Max, listen, I'm pretty sure you're going to like this movie.
It's about gambling.
You got to watch it. But Moon Over Parador is a further jump. I feel like he has
True.
to dance with her. I cannot think of it. It's driving me nuts that I can't think of her name. But anyway.
I hope Dickie Dreyfuss is an undercover Christopher Walken and just
I feel like he can dance. I really feel like he can. I feel like I've seen him dance in something. I really feel strongly about this, and I don't know
Spring.
why.
Serious question.
Oh.
If we go to L.A. and we perform a sting operation where you seduce Richard Dreyfuss,
This is not a thing.
no, you don't. You don't have to do anything untoward with him. Just get him to dance. Get him out on the dance floor.
I don't
Be like,
dance, Brad.
Just string him along.
I don't dance at all. I haven't. I can't even tell you the last time that I even slow danced anywhere with anyone.
Okay. Well, I had to dance at the last rehearsal. Next time I'm at karaoke, we're gonna dance.
No, I don't dance.
You're gonna dance.
I don't dance. I don't. People have been trying to get me to dance at karaoke for 20 years. I don't dance.
Okay. Well,
I just
we'll see.
I just found an article where Richard Dreyfuss says he can't sing or dance just days before quitting the London stage production of The Producers in 2004.
I think he's lying. I think he's too good of a dancer for this world.
You're
think
probably right.
I think it would be like unlocking the seventh seal. When he's done on the phone, everyone wants to know what Trotter is going to do with the cash. He decides to go home, picking up a gold necklace on the way to give to Pam, who is passed out dead drunk.
Yes.
Trotter tests his luck.
Well, he tries to show her the box of money, and she is too passed out
Yes.
to
She
care.
she is dead to the world.
She's like having a problem.
He tests his luck by cutting a deck of cards and trying to predict the card he will pull. Five of clubs, and it is the five of clubs, which is a sign that he needs to go back to the track.
Right, music. And
Yes.
then, yes.
And that
He is truly
Giorgio
touched.
Moroder score.
I almost wish that they had taken this a little bit even farther, where even small little things outside of his gambling would have gone right for him over the course of the film. He'd be like, that's weird. That's why everyone in this room got pooped on by a bird except me. That's a bad example, but just
That's a terrible example.
but just throwing little things in there that would have added to the magicalness of it. I think that could have been cool.
I
play
enjoy
with.
the understated. I enjoy the just simple, there's a deck of cards here, I'm going to cut it.
Yeah, but when you get to a part in the movie where the guy's breaking through a door like George Reeves' Superman, the subtlety is kind of already gone.
It is, but that's what I like about this movie is it doesn't necessarily increase in its absurdity. It just maintains this level. The breaking through the door is the peak, but everything else is pretty... It sort of varies, but it's not a huge variance.
Okay.
He goes back to the bar where he's given a hero's welcome.
Yep.
Have you ever gone into a place and gotten this sort of welcome?
Not that sort of welcome, but there are when I hadn't been at karaoke or Sons of Italy for a bunch of months, when I came in, somebody went, hey, look, and they all went, it's spring! And they all went, they did. Yeah.
Everybody knows your name.
I felt like Norm, for real. I did.
It's a good feeling like Norm, ain't it? Yeah.
I suppose Norm is one of the... You don't want to be a Cliff. But Norm still has his issues.
You're very happy that everyone knows your name, and then at the same time, you suddenly also are just really hating your wife right now.
Oh my God,
Didn't even have a wife, but you're just really hating your wife.
It's so crazy that you would say that, because it keeps coming up that nobody has met my husband. And somebody said to me the other day, I think he's like Stephalopoulos. I don't think he really exists, and now I kind of am feeling a weird Norm vibe, because people are like, is Gup even real?
Oh my God.
Because it keeps happening. I meet people,
God.
and then he never goes into that context, and they're like, well, when's your husband going to come to a Cutters game? Or when,
Oh, wow.
Cup doesn't go to the Cutters?
Not for several years, and no, he doesn't.
He likes baseball.
I don't know what to tell you. I can't explain these
I
things.
don't.
But this is it's fairly. People will say I'm going to meet Gup then, or he'll be at this, and I'm like, no, he doesn't go to karaoke.
We're calling
he
you
doesn't go
out,
to Cutter's
Gup.
game. He
We're
doesn't-
calling you out, Gup.
They think he's not real.
I know it will never happen, but if Gup ever goes to karaoke...
He will not.
I know he won't. I know he won't. I know he won't. We're talking about a hypothetical.
Okay.
If he ever does, tell me. I will come. I will take the next day off work. I will call in sick. I need to see Gup this uncomfortable.
That's all it would be.
That's all it would be.
He's
He
a
would
wonderful
be-
singer.
Is he?
Yes, he's a wonderful
Is
voice.
he?
He's a wonderful
Is
voice.
he castrati?
Well, he's completely fictional, so he can be whatever she wants him to be.
People really, I think, are starting to think. But no, he could really sing, and we sing all the time in the car and stuff. He's a good singer, but he will not. There were years that karaoke took place on our anniversary, and I was like, please, or even on my birthday, and I'm like, I don't want a gift. I don't want to just come to karaoke
come.
with me.
Yeah.
Tell Gup if he ever comes, he and I will do a duet.
I don't think that
We'll do
that's gonna
Islands in the
sweeten
Stream. Trotter gives the patrons of the bar a proposition. They all pool all their money together,
Yeah.
and they all bet it on a horse because Trotter's hot. Trotter
Yeah.
can't lose.
Yeah.
So everyone's sharing his success, and none of them go for it.
Which I find it was interesting that everyone he does it in stages where he's like, let's put all of our money together,
And they're like,
All of it. They're like, yeah, and then he's
Which-
like, and then we bet it all, and then they all walk away, and I'm
they-
like, what did you think you were going to
Exactly.
do?
I know, yeah,
Exactly.
That
Where did you
giant
think
pile
this
of
was going?
money.
We're going to get all our money together, and we're going to roll in it.
Yeah, I know. Communism, they're going to equally divide it.
Exactly. We're going to pull it all into a healthcare plan.
Right
Come,
before this,
comrades.
they're literally saying, now that's a man. And and they're saying things like, hey, we're going to pick you up when it's over, as if they don't even really believe.
Exactly.
He's surely going
he's
to
gonna
piss it all.
fuck.
He's going to piss it all away.
Right. Remember that.
But I
This,
wrote that too. All seem to expect what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
all
yeah.
knew
Yeah.
that.
And
Yeah. They turn on him so fast, I'm surprised there wasn't a record scratch.
And again, this is why I feel like it's okay that Trotter is a jerk, because most of the people around him are jerks who aren't willing to, like... He's constantly being like, here's the tip, at least to Looney. And guys, I can't lose. Let's all do this. Like, he's giving them the opportunity, and he eventually, spoiler alert, does win. They could have gotten in on that as well. Like,
Sure.
he is
Yes.
not... He tries to
yes,
give.
he does. He really does. And so he leaves alone.
No,
Yes,
he is a much nicer person in this third act than he was for the rest of the movie.
Trotter leaves the bar to stroll the track grounds. He tells Reardon to stay, and Reardon freezes in place. He just... And it cuts back to him later, and he's still just standing still. God bless this actor.
Who looks a little like Kevin Nealon.
He does look a little like Kevin Nealon. All right, Spring.
Sorry.
Richard Dreyfuss, Robert Shaw, Kevin Nealon.
I get the feeling that this cop character would be played by Dave Bautista if this movie was made today.
I can see that.
I have very good peripheral vision.
Nothing gets past me.
Nothing gets past me. I would catch it. My reflexes are too fast.
Another one of my favorite lines coming up. Vicky comes up behind Trotter, covers his eyes, and says, "Guess who?" And he says, "A football salesman." It's kind of a dirty joke. But it's so
That's
fun.
fine.
It's so funny.
It is
Yeah.
funny. I wrote that she's in this scene. She's equally pure and dirty at the same time.
Which
Yes.
is Jennifer Tilly's whole thing. Like,
Yes.
that's the baby voice with
Yes.
the body.
She's seriously like the way that she is like willing to sleep with him.
Exactly, because
you know?
that's what happens. She very earnestly comes to
Yeah.
Trotter and is like, I think you're funny, and I just
Yeah.
want
Would
to
you-
say I
would
would
you
like to go to bed
tonight?
with you.
Yep.
And again, here's where the nice guy Trotter really shines through. He says, he breaks the fourth wall, he turns to the camera and says, aren't I having a great day?
He says, I'm having a very
I'm
good
having a very
good day. Yeah,
I
wrote
love a
that
good
too.
fourth wall break.
Yep, I wrote.
And then he
Break's
turns
fourth
back to Vicky, and without hesitation, aside from the fourth wall break, is like, I'm in love with my wife. It's nice to receive attention sometimes.
Sure.
Like, you can receive attention and not do anything about it.
wall. Yes, I agree.
And
Even-
again, Trotter is a schlub.
Yes.
Like, he does not get this kind of attention. He's having a very good day, but at the end of the day, he is not going to cheat on his wife.
no, and even earlier when they're both running their feet up his legs or whatever, it's not like he's doing anything to really like
Exactly.
invite that, other than it. People who are confident and lucky are attractive.
Exactly.
You know, and so he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't seem to overly respond to it, other than kind of uncomfortably, be in that moment. And she's great. I love that whole part when she says,
She's-
"Nothing ventured, nothing
Ventured.
ventured."
Jennifer Tilly in this movie, there's been a big push to reclaim the word bimbo and make it, it's now like a subculture, where people want to be bimbos. And the way that word is defined in that subculture today is the personification of who Jennifer Tilly is in this movie.
Yes.
Like you're talking about the sexually confident and yet not at all in a sleazy way.
No,
This is sort of just she knows what she wants. She's going to venture, and if the venture doesn't venture, it doesn't venture. So she goes back and
attack Trotter. Like
No.
again, it's not a thing where it's like we're gonna
much
make
lesser
you
movie.
laugh because of reverse sexual assault.
No, and she
Right.
really is. She says, "I just thought I'd ask. That's all."
Exactly,
Yeah.
and she's very understanding, and it's a good blueprint for consent.
we really missed out on the fact that she's when she was young and in this age that she is in this movie that we never got to see Jennifer Tilly's Harley Quinn.
Oh,
She would have been amazing. She would have been amazing in that part.
Looney comes up to ask Trotter what he's going to do. They're at the stables, and Trotter doesn't know. Looney says, "Whatever you do, don't bet on that horse. It looks like it's blind or something." And of course, because Looney is the unluckiest man in the world, Trotter goes, "I'm betting that horse."
Well, first he looks over at the horse, and the horse gives him the most sexually suggestive look a horse has ever given a man in any movie. He turns around, the hair is flowing like Fabio. Once again he's in that magical
Yes,
realm
it's-
that the lady at the Greasy Spoon was in.
And it's named Hot to Trot.
And it's
Trot,
There
like
you
the
go.
Bobcat Goldthwait movie.
well, it's Trotter.
Yeah, no.
It's,
I,
no, it is like I saw that movie in the theater too.
I need to see that movie because I'm a big Bobcat. Have you ever seen Shakes the Clown?
No, but I saw Hot to Trot in the theater.
I need to see Hot to Trot. I'm sure it's not a winner, but
Burgess Meredith is always.
Oh, I
funny.
love Burgess Meredith. But yeah, the horse looks at him, and I wrote down best horse acting I've ever seen.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think there should be an animal Oscars.
I agree.
The dog from The Thing. should have
Absolutely.
won
The
an-
dog from The Thing deserves all the awards. He deserves a People Oscar. He was so good.
True. As Trotter approaches the betting window, the cashier downs a handful of aspirin and wipes his flop sweat and warns Trotter he might faint.
But yeah, I may faint.
But it's okay. The amount is too big for the ticket machine to handle, so they go to the counting room.
Yeah.
This was the scene where I was
Then
like,
he says, "Let it ride." He says,
Yes.
"What are you going to do?" And he says, "Let it ride." And that's when he says, "Counting room."
where the cartoonish vibe of this movie finally kind of worked for me was when they went to the counting room, and it felt like the luggage man scene from Joe versus
Yes.
the Volcano,
You
where they're
see
like,
the sheep crying.
Yes, yeah.
there's a sheep crying in the corner, and it's just like it's this big magical place where they have to go in order to do the real tickets.
Yeah, and Robbie Coltrane is clearly like
sweating.
overcome with
Yeah.
the religious ecstasy of this moment where it's like, I'm going to print out you a single ticket. And as soon as you win, like it's going to route right through the, like it's fantastic. And again, like we're approaching the very end of this movie. There's been so little conflict. I know you are not as on board as Spring and I, but like throughout this entire movie, I've been engrossed. The races have been tense, like every time. And you said this to me outside of the show, where
Yes.
it's like the entire premise of this movie is that Trotter can't lose.
Right.
But every race, you're like, is this it?
Yeah,
Is
because
this it?
Is this the one-
because all indications in the context of the movie are that he will not.
They really build up every single time how much there is no way in hell that he's going to win.
Sure.
And they do
And
it
that's been
so
his life.
Yeah.
They do it so well that even though the entire premise of the movie is that he can't lose, you get just as tense as he does every single time. And even though, like in this part of the movie, he's got this sort of serene, I've come to absolve you of your sins
He
kind of
becomes
energy.
very zen.
Yeah.
But the minute that race starts, even he's jumping up and down and just this is again
It's
once
so
again
great.
once I think you mentioned it earlier, like the veins about to pop out of his
Yeah.
head. He's like screaming, he's
Yes.
freaking out. He completely loses all of the zen that he's
It's
gained
wonderful.
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
the race is on.
That's it. Because he's sweating. Robbie Coltrane's sweating, and he says, "You're very calm." And he says, "I'm going to win."
Yeah.
And he hugs him, and he says, "You're such a wonderful guy." And he goes through the whole thing. He says, "You can't put a price tag on a day like that."
Yeah.
He talks about all the wonderful experiences that he's had through the day.
And it's also not just we are taught by movies, as we were talking about, that gambling is bad and gambling will be punished.
Yes.
So we keep expecting for Trotter's comeuppance to come.
Exactly.
Right.
So even though we know
That does help,
it's
yeah.
his lucky day, we have this outside influence that's going like, no, he has to pay. He has to pay. So even though I learned of this movie outside of you, you're a big fan, and we talked about it independently. And you were like, while I was watching it, you were like, did you get to the end? What'd you think of the end? It's feel good. And I was like, even though I knew it was feel good, I was still tense coming into this last race because, again, I am taught by movies that he has to lose.
Yes,
Right.
he's going to win in some other way.
Exactly.
He can be
Right.
happy, but it will be
Like
some
he'll
not-
lose all of his money, and then his either his wife will take him back, or he'll end up with Jennifer Tilly.
Right.
And his friends will be like, "Well, we were there to pick you up when you were
Right.
down," and all this
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean,
and
God forbid-
it's like money isn't important. Stay poor,
Yeah,
poor people.
God forbid that somebody just like, okay, so we're rooting for this character and they win.
Yeah.
You know, like it just when it
It's-
happens, people are like, that's so simple, but it really doesn't happen that much. We honestly expect we are waiting for the other shoe to fall.
Exactly,
Yeah.
because we have been because there was such a long time where the underdog wins.
Yes.
So now we expect the underdog to win. So they have to subvert that by making the underdog lose and there being a greater message. So it's a 50-50 toss, but it's almost like playing a meta game where it's like,
Yes.
okay, they know I expect them to win, so they're going to
Yeah.
lose.
Right.
But
Right. Exactly.
It's like the mental gymnastics. It's like the mental gymnastics you go through every time you watch a murder mystery. Is like, okay, that guy's the guy you would least expect.
Yeah, we saw him first,
But
so
are
he's
they
the end.
expecting that I would least expect him, and therefore it's this
Exactly.
guy? Like you just it's. Yeah, half the time when you're watching, if you watch it in too many movies like we do, you get to a point where you're not like wondering, I wonder what this character is going to do. You're wondering,
Right.
what does the writer expect
When-
me to
Yeah.
expect?
you're trying to game the system.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And here, when they all applaud for him when he goes down to the track, there's almost this moment where you think, "Well, this is it. Like
This
this
is
is
his-
his big moment. This is what he got."
Yeah.
This is his high before the fall.
Yeah, like
There was-
everybody loves him, and this is his reward. He says he can't put a price tag on a day like that, so
Yeah.
he saw the value in the other parts, and you think
There was a
maybe it's not
moment where I genuinely thought this was going to have a Rocky 3 ending, where the horses were going to be going, and he was, and someone was like, "Did he win? Did he win?" He's like, "It doesn't matter," and then it would like go to freeze frame as the horses,
Sure.
and you wouldn't know.
Yep.
Like that's another very silly Hollywood thing that
Yeah,
they do a lot
you're
of the
right,
time.
you're right.
But no, the movie managed to pull off this seemingly impossible plot of a man winning every single time, and I have to give it props for that.
I thought this was going to be like Rocky in that someone got a robot.
Rocky 4.
Okay, I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if it was 4 or
They
5.
they get a robot and they take down the Soviet Union.
I've never seen any Rocky, so
Well, Rocky 4 is definitely the only one you need to see.
gotcha. Everyone congregates at the front of the track. Trotter tells everyone he bet 20 on the favorite, then whispers to Looney and Vicky that he bet it all on 2, Hot to Trot. Looney turns around and possibly my favorite line of the movie, announces to everybody, he pissed it all away!
And it's cacophonous.
They all lose their minds. When we went to the track, this is the clip I posted before. I love it. I love that everyone revels in Trotter's destructive behavior.
But at the same rate, nobody would do that. You would
Exactly.
never do, and so for even just to
It's
watch
no-
somebody else do it, like to have the guts to let it ride.
Exactly. No, it's-
is more that feeling. Whatever he had to do that is more than any of us will ever.
It's like the train wreck effect, where it's just like, I'm going to watch this thing happen.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad.
So I'm sitting here literally between these two super fans of Let It Ride, just talking about this movie that I didn't see and how amazing it was. I feel so left out.
Well, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Not every movie is for everybody.
Not every movie is for everybody.
It's-
I feel like I need to watch this movie again because you guys are talking about this thing that I didn't get, and I feel like, oh man, I need this. This sounds like just
You know what
a messiah of a film. I
You
gotta
know
go
what I
back
think
and
it
watch
is,
it.
Billy? I think Spring and
Hodorowski's Let It Ride.
I think Spring and I are closer to Skid Row than you. I think we're closer to the Down and Dirty. I think we're closer to the Tom Waits characters than you are. Like,
Okay.
we vibe more with these grease balls.
You know, I am a bit of a preppy douche, so that
You're-
kind of makes sense.
You're a Mormon in all but name.
Excuse me.
We'll litigate this off air.
A Mormon and all. Okay, wow. I
we
liked
need-
the compound jokes better. Jeez.
Okay. Relax. Looney announced he pissed it all away. The crowd goes nuts. Looney gives him a beer, which as soon as the race starts, Trotter throws in his face.
He's so excited. He doesn't do it on purpose. He just
That's-
jumps
it's
and
just a
it's
reaction.
immediately-
Again, there's that moment. He's like, he's like, yeah, I'll enjoy this nice beer, Looney. Thank you. And then immediately race begins.
The bell. I get it.
Of course, we all get it.
Yeah.
Tense race. First time I watched it, I had no clue how it would end, even though Spring told me it was a feel-good movie. Everyone begins to pray to God.
In a moment much like Crybaby, during the final action race scene, a whole bunch of subplots all start to just work out. In the middle of the scene, they have Jennifer Tilly just praying, is like, I'll take the advice Richard Dreyfuss gave me earlier and date people for love.
Yes.
And she immediately starts making eyes at Looney, which, sure.
I compared it to
love
It's a
it.
Wonderful Life, where everyone's like, George Bailey's such a good man.
Sure, and then Sid and what's her name?
Evangeline.
Evangeline.
Yeah,
Evangeline's like, I don't even care about my
My $200.
my $200. Please just let him win. And he's like, marry me. And their ticket.
To be
is so
fair,
cute.
Evangeline placed her bet to show.
That's what I was going to say.
even if
I never realized it until I went to the
Yeah.
track and learned the terminology.
Exactly.
She still wins.
yeah,
she does.
She
Yeah,
wins.
no, exactly.
I didn't know
Yeah.
until today because I watched it and I was like, what? She still wins. Like
that's hilarious. That's a wonderful detail
Yeah, but
that you don't know it
No.
unless you've been to the track.
That's it. But you know what? She's still not rooting for her horse to
Exactly.
take second. She is rooting for him over her, but
Exactly.
Yeah.
she also
She's-
gets some good karma because her horse shows. 'cause
Which
her horse is
shows
second.
how savvy she's become.
Yes.
It's a one.
She's become inundated with this culture so much that she understands what a unique, magical day that Richard Dreyfuss or Trotter is having
In the span of an afternoon.
in the span of an afternoon. Yeah, no, she's had a journey.
But when we were there, when we were at the casino, think about, we were only there for like 20 minutes and we all thought we'd been
my
there an hour. So a whole day would feel like sort of a small lifetime.
True,
Because
true.
Max was like, what time is it? And I was like, 4:30 or whatever. And he was like, are you serious? We've been here for 25 minutes. Like, I thought we'd been here for over an hour. It's very strange. There's no time there.
No.
I'm assuming this was a thing you were having fun with and not a,
Oh,
oh,
yeah,
my God,
no,
I
this
was so
wasn't-
bored.
This was
Oh,
like,
no, we were having, yeah.
oh, it was a blast.
But we
Okay,
were
good.
very green.
Okay,
We
sure.
didn't know
Yes,
how
this
to,
was
we
all
didn't
of
know
our-
how to do anything.
gotcha,
we sort of
gotcha.
took
Yeah.
turns asking questions. How do I do this? Where do I,
Gotcha.
And every time I would go, once I went to ask somebody how to do something, and meanwhile these two were over doing something else, figuring it out for themselves.
Because Max would go and do his normal Max, I'm going to figure it
Yeah.
out myself. And then
Mm-hmm.
I would, just kind of wander over to see what he was doing because I feel like it's weird if I stand behind you while you're asking a question.
Mm-hmm.
So the race ends in a photo finish. But Trotter is very zen.
Right before the horses cross the finish line, he regains his zenness and is just like,
I got it.
I got it. I know.
And we still continue to see everybody root for him. The
Yes.
ticket guy,
The ticket
Robbie Coltrane is...
the cop, the bartender, Evangeline.
Yeah, much like It's a Wonderful Life and
Yes.
Crybaby, all your favorites are here.
Yes.
Charles Barkley is here somewhere. We just can't see it.
Pam shows up. She has an ice bag on her head.
Yeah.
She says she's okay with everything. It's announced that Hot to Trot won, and everybody goes nuts.
I will say it was really sweet to see him and Pam come together at the end.
Yeah.
You said you wanted to say something about that earlier in the episode when I was complaining about this ending, that it didn't feel organic. I said it just felt like he gave her jewelry and now she's back with him. And you said I want us to talk about that later.
It's not because he gave her jewelry. It's because you make it sound like a buy-off. You make it sound like she woke up with the necklace.
That's
and
what
was
it felt like to me.
It was like, I love Trotter because he gave me some gold.
Yeah, I didn't feel like that.
No,
yeah.
I think it's just like she woke up and she was like, I can't sustain being alcoholic because that's not a real plan. Mm-hmm. But I love Trotter too much. Mm-hmm. So I'm thankful for the necklace, but I'm still going to go down to the track because I have to stand by my man.
I think when they create such a world at the track that it's so obvious when he leaves the track with the money and goes back into his own world with her, even though she's completely unaware of him. And so, I mean, he left that world for her.
Yes.
I guess,
and so that he was thinking of her, you know,
Exactly.
and he had every good intention.
And Trotter is a man in a 1980s movie, and jewelry
Right.
equals good husband.
I guess the one thing that I was missing from their arc in the relationship was a scene where he tried to explain to her what gambling meant to him. And that is something that Another Round does well, where people talk about the magic of being drunk, and they talk about the history of being drunk and how powerful it can be. In this movie, there was never a moment where, again, like she says, "Why can't you just not bet?" And just people just laugh, and they're like, "Oh, she's new." They don't. There's never a moment where he is like, "You don't understand, honey. This is my world. This is my thing. This is everything that I am," or something that would give her a reason to come back at the end and be like, because again, without that, what has changed for her? From her perspective, she's gone home, gotten drunk, and then she just comes back, and the only thing that passed between them that she was consciously aware of was she talked to him on the phone, didn't really listen to anything he said. He didn't really say anything anyway. And when she asked for the money back, he gave her tickets.
Yes.
So
I don't think he has anything to offer in that discussion, though, because clearly, like he even says, like, it's not my gambling, it's my losing.
Exactly.
All he does is lose.
Right.
So I don't know what he could say to her. Oh, this is my world, losing.
Yeah, exactly.
Please respect it. It's great to lose all the time. You know, so this may be I'd like to think it's the one and only. You know, he has this one golden day.
Exactly. That's what I was just thinking.
Oh, definitely.
I like to assume headcanon that after this day, after he wins almost over $500,000, that he's just like, okay, I can walk away. I've had the best day that anyone has ever had.
Yes.
I can just go and love my wife.
Yes.
Like, and I feel like Trotter doesn't need to justify himself to Terry Garr in the script, because the entire movie is justification. We are seeing why he loves the track. All these characters, this life, the thrill of the race. Like, I feel like the movie is Trotter's justification in itself.
Yes, but none of it would play well verbally.
No, absolutely
like, he couldn't
not.
explain how wonderful all these people are.
sure.
You know, because they're sort of sleazy and sad.
Exactly.
Even if it's not communicated verbally, all I'm saying is that even though that's in the movie and we see it, Terry Garr's character never gets to see it.
Right.
True.
So when she comes back at the end, it felt hollow to me. Until, again, the actors, Terry Garr and Richard Dreyfuss, have such great chemistry in the movie, and they are so good, that even though I didn't buy the relationship at this point at all, clearly, when they got back together and they had that moment of sweetness together, I was still going, aww.
Yeah.
Like, it was still happy, but it was happy because of the performances for me. It wasn't happy because of
Terry Garr doesn't even know what's going
content.
on. She
Yeah,
says,
she has
why are
absolutely
people
no idea.
cheering? And he
Yeah.
just says, I had a really good day.
which is a great ending line.
It is. It's great. I just want to point out that in the credits, it lists one of the patrons in the Chinese restaurant as being named Rundo.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Rundo, calling it now Rundo, favorite character.
Sure.
Yeah.
Does anyone have anything else to say about Let It Ride?
I'm very sorry.
You don't need to apologize.
Sorry. When I said that I liked this movie to Brad, I fully expected that he wouldn't
Yeah.
even make it all the way through it. That he would think it was too
no.
simple, and you know,
No,
it's
I'm used to disagreeing with him on movies, and we can get into arguments. I don't know you very well, and I feel like you came into my house and I dulled over your favorite
Not
movie.
at
Not at
all.
all.
No,
You're allowed your
no.
opinion,
Yeah.
and you gave reasons behind your
sure.
opinion.
And I
Sure.
absolutely recognize that there
are
are issues with this. I mean, not
Yeah.
everyone is going to like the simplicity of it, number one, or maybe they are going to think it, you know, glamorizes gambling in some way.
I mean, it literally is the
It
reason why we
kinda
went
does.
to the track.
Literally the reason why you asked me.
Well,
to-
yeah.
Well, what was I going to say? No.
Yeah, you could have.
No.
Oh yeah,
maybe sometime.
he
No,
really twisted your arm.
I'm always up for an adventure.
I think it helped.
I
I,
like
think it helped
adventure.
that I texted you while you were out at karaoke with Max, and you were.
Did you? Is that how you
I
asked me?
think so.
I thought you asked me in the green room.
No, I texted you.
Oh.
I texted you because I didn't finish the movie while I was at home, or while I was in the green room. I finished it at home.
Oh, that's
and
right.
I texted you. I was like, I really want to go to the track now. Do you want to go to the track? And you were like, Max was right there, so
Yeah.
I assume it was at karaoke,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you were like, Max really wants to go.
Yeah. Because I've been trying to keep him away from casinos. I really was afraid that he would, just start to win and then want to keep going. And
Everybody
Right.
did really well.
Yes.
Any last thoughts?
I will say, as much as I've been known about the movie is actually a very well-made movie.
It is.
I do not regret watching it at all. And I do kind of still want to read the book, even though it's apparently
I
very
would like to
difficult
read the book
to find.
someday.
Yeah. The people on Goodreads, I was reading some reviews on Goodreads, and they said it was actually a really fantastic book, and they all seem to be big fans of the movie as well. So
Wonderful.
there you go.
Interesting. I'd like to read it as well. It's just
Yeah.
so fun.
It is
just like a movie
so
that
fun. It's a hangout movie.
It is. And
Even though you
It
don't
is a
necessarily
hangout movie.
want to hang out with these people,
Yeah.
it's a hangout movie.
it's really enjoyable. I don't know. I feel like in a world of literary complexity, and this means this, and sometimes
It's okay for things to be simple.
You love the simplicity of him winning and everyone rooting for
Exactly.
him, and that they can root for him even that they're flawed. They're not all perfect, but in that moment he brings them together, and it's just
Exactly.
beautiful. There's not enough of that.
Oh.
Well, Spring, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you. For
I
having
think
me.
we will try to have you back on sometime, maybe to talk about Don't Tell Her It's Me, aka Boyfriend School with Steve Gutenberg.
I haven't rewatched it yet.
Okay, well, why don't you wait to rewatch it? Because I don't know that it necessarily needs to be rewatched twice in a span of any months. But it has Steve Gutenberg doing a New Zealand accent.
Yes.
So I think it works for this show.
Sure.
I have no clue. I'm going to try to get this episode out as soon as I can. So it'll probably go this episode, Mouth of Madness, and who knows where it will go after there.
Right.
But thank you so much.
Thank you for having
Absolutely.
me. It was delightful.
Always a joy to have you on.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.